Chapter 228. I plan to use my personal savings, never mind, I don't want to wander around anymore. Xiao Nanya, one want to go back. The further they went, the more beggars they saw, making Jiang Peihuan lose her mood for leisurely strolling. Although she wasn't particularly kind-hearted, seeing children with frostbitten hands and feet still tugged at her heartstrings. Xiao Nanya obviously understood Jiang Peihuan's feelings. After hearing her, he nodded, "I'll take you back." "All right." Jiang Peihuan didn't refuse and returned with Xiao Nanya to the general's mansion. However, when they arrived at the entrance of the mansion, Jiang Peihuan said to him, "I've made up my mind. I plan to discuss with my family elders about distributing porridge in the city. Even if the ministers haven't reported it yet, can you mention it to the emperor? Even if Emperor Qiming does nothing, he will at least know of their intentions and will likely have no objections." Understanding her meaning, Xiao Nanya nodded, "Don't worry, 111 speak to my imperial brother. You do whatever you want, no one will gossip." "All right, 111 go in then." "Go ahead." Jian Peihuan nodded at Xiao Nanya and walked into the general's mansion. Xiao Nanya stood outside. When he saw her figure disappear through the door, he turned around and left. After entering the mansion, Jiang Peihuan went directly to the chrysanthemum hall. When she arrived, all the family members were there, even Jian Mai. The old Madame Jiang treated Jian Mai indifferently, but due to her pregnancy, she wasn't overly cold to her. "Old Madam, eldest miss is here." Nanny Shu announced Jiang Peihuan's arrival. Upon hearing this, old Madame Jiang's eyes immediately revealed a smile. By this time, Jiang Peihuan had entered the main hall, grandmother. After greeting her grandmother, she greeted Zhu Rongfang and Liu Xiu. "Weren't you accompanying Princess Zhuama around? Why are you back so soon?" "I met His Highness King Cheng on the way, so I came back early." Sitting next to her grandmother, Jiang Peihuan said softly, "Grandmother, there's something one want to discuss with you." "What is it?" Zhu Rongfang and Liu Xiu turned their attention to Jiang Peihuan. Meeting everyone's gaze, Jiang Peihuan said, "Grandmother, while wandering the city today, one saw many beggars, many of whom were just children. I want to distribute porridge in the city, and I hope you can agree. This distribution will take at least 7 days, and it'll be a significant amount of money." Before the old madam could respond, Zhu Rongfang quickly interjected. "Mother." Hearing this, Jiang Ruyun frowned, pulled Zhu Rongfang's sleeve to signal her to keep quiet. If it were the past, Jiang Peihuan wouldn't have bothered to respond to Zhu Rongfang, but given Jiang Ruyun's recent changes, for the sake of family unity, she addressed Zhu Rongfang, "Aunt, don't worry. For this distribution, I plan to use my personal savings. I haven't used up the 100,000 gold that the Huainan mansion gave me earlier." Hearing this, Zhu Rongfang frowned. Looking at Jiang Peihuan, Zhu Rongfang whispered, "Huan it's not that your second aunt is nagging you, but even though this money is your personal savings, you're getting married into the royal household in a month. It's better for you to keep more money. Otherwise, enough." Before Zhu Rongfang could finish, old Madame Jiang interrupted her. With a cold glance at Zhu Rongfang, old Madame Jiang turned to Jiang Peihuan with a smile, "Our Huan has always had a kind heart. Doing charity is a good deed. If you want to go, go ahead. I, as your grandmother, will agree to it. As for the money for the charity, you don't have to provide it. One will." Upon hearing this, Zhu Rongfang nearly ground her teeth in anger, but she had no right to question old Madame Jiang's personal savings. After all, it was hers to give to whomever she pleased. Hearing old Madame Jiang's words, warmth filled Jiang Peihuan's heart. She held the old madam's hand and said softly, "There's no need, grandmother. One will make the arrangements first. If one run out of funds, I will come to you." Old Madame Jiang wanted to say something but, seeing Zhu Rongfang's resentful eyes, she simply nodded in agreement. "Grandmother, let my elder sister and I go together. While one might not have money, one can at least offer some help." Jiang Ruyun looked at old Madame Jiang and said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Grandmother Jiang nodded, "If you want to go, then accompany Huan. Also, take Si Jin with you. Mother, Song Bai is also returning from afar today. Why not let him join too? Liu Xiu smiled and said. Hearing that her young grandson was coming back, joy lit up old Madame Jiang's eyes. She looked at Liu Xiu and said joyfully, Song Bai is coming back? Yes, he sent a letter yesterday saying he'll arrive by tonight. The weather is getting colder. Make sure someone picks him up and have the servants warm up his quarters. Don't worry, mother, it's all been arranged. Grandmother, it's getting colder by the day. 111 Make the arrangements now. Looking at the snow outside, Jiang Peihuan said to old Madame Jiang. The old madam nodded her approval, and Jiang Peihuan, together with Jiang Ruyun, took their leave. Elder sister, don't take to heart what my mother said. She meant no harm. As they stepped out, Jiang Ruyun said to Jiang Peihuan. Seeing the hesitation in Jiang Ruyun's eyes, Jiang Peihuan replied softly, It's all right. We're family. Your mother only wants what's best for me. One won't mind. Let's go. Let me arrange for some helpers. Ideally, we can start distributing the porridge tonight. Isn't that a bit too rushed? Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Jiang Ruyun looked surprised. But Jiang Peihuan simply shook her head. In winter, nights are the hardest. Having some warm porridge might at least warm them up. An hour later, Jiang Peihuan, along with Jiang Ruyun and Jiang Xijin, started preparing. While Jiang Peihuan was busy, a voice reached her. Cousin, what are you all up to? Shueru's foot hadn't completely healed, but with the help of a maid, she could walk normally. At this moment, seeing Jiang Peihuan directing people to load things onto carriages, confusion filled her eyes. We're going to distribute porridge in the city. Cousin, would you like to come along? Chapter 229. Giving porridge. Jiang Peihuan was feeling anxious at the moment. As winter days grew dark quickly, she really had no mood to deal with Shueru. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Shueru looked upset. Why waste good food on beggars? You must be overly fed. Miss Shui, please be careful with your words. Beggars are also humans. We should have compassion in our hearts. How can you speak like this? Jiang Ruyun looked furious hearing Shueru's comments. Jiang Peihuan, however, didn't even glance at Shueru and turned to Jiang Xijin. Is everything ready? Don't worry, eldest sister. Everything is ready. All right, let's go. Yes. Jiang Peihuan exited the main door and mounted her horse. Seeing her actions, Jiang Ruyun and Jiang Xijin also mounted theirs, following behind Jiang Peihuan. Watching the impressive convoy depart, Shueru's eyes darkened. Elder sister, why is cousin so annoying? Just ignore her. Pretend she's invisible. The group went straight to the city center market. As Jiang Peihuan dismounted, Deputy General Liu immediately approached. Eldest Miss Jiang? Let's start cooking the porridge. Yes. As Jiang Peihuan proceeded, numerous beggars had already gathered, crowding the place. She didn't need to think to know there were even more outside the city. As heavy snowfall continued, these beggars were still dressed in thin clothes. Seeing this, Jiang Peihuan frowned. Deputy General Liu? Eldest Miss. Go to the city's cloth shop and buy ready-made cotton clothes. They don't have to be of fine quality, coarse cloth will suffice. Buy in bulk. Eldest Jiang, these clothes aren't cheap. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's instructions, Deputy General Liu glanced at the beggars. There was a hint of pity and sympathy in his eyes, but he still voiced his concerns. Jiang Peihuan simply smiled, it's fine. As she spoke, Jiang Peihuan handed a thick stack of silver notes to Deputy General Liu. Yes, I'll go right away. Taking the silver notes from Jiang Peihuan's hands, Deputy General Liu nodded softly. Remember, be quick. Yes. After Deputy General Liu left, Jiang Peihuan instructed the people to start cooking the porridge. When the rice was poured into the pot, the eyes of the beggars were filled with desire. Jiang Peihuan walked over to them, speaking softly, everyone, this porridge store will be here for the next few days, ensuring everyone gets some. However, I request you to form a line. Also, let the children and the elderly come forward first. The strong men stand behind. Though her voice was soft, due to the stillness of the night, everyone could hear her. Miss Jiang was here last winter, distributing porridge. This year, she's here again. Line up and follow Miss Jiang's instructions. Many of these beggars were farmers nearby. However, due to the continuous war in the past 2 years and the sudden snowfall this year, these farmers had no choice but to become beggars. Among the beggars, many were local farmers. Continuous warfare and sudden heavy snow this year left them with no choice but to become beggars. Many had seen Jiang Peihuan distributing porridge before, so they naturally started to form a line. First came the children, then the elderly, followed by women, and lastly men. Most obeyed the rules, but a few were always troublemakers. It's time to start distributing the porridge. With Jiang Xijin's command, the crowd began to buzz with excitement. Although most of the crowd could restrain themselves, just as a little boy at the front, around 5 or 6 years old, was about to receive his porridge, 2 men pushed their way to the front. The little boy, barely able to hold the bowl steady, was jostled by the 2 men. His porridge spilled, but luckily it splashed onto the ground and not on him. However, when Jiang Peihuan saw this, anger flashed in her eyes. "What are you 2 doing? Go to the back of the line." Jiang Xijin, known for her temper, was also filled with rage. But the 2 men not only refused to leave, but they also replied with brazen confidence, "Such a small child will only slow things down. They should wait until the end." "Exactly, just serve us first. It'll save time for the others." "You too." Upon hearing their shameless words, Jiang Xijin's face reddened with anger. She was about to step forward to deal with them when Jiang Peihuan's voice rang out, "Go to the back." Jiang Peihuan's eyes were dark and icy as she stared intently at the 2 men. Facing her intense gaze, the 2 men felt a shiver of fear. But recalling that she was just a young lady from a wealthy family, one of them tried to charm his way out. "Miss, we are genuinely hungry. We've been waiting for so long, so we thought to." Jiang Peihuan's patience snapped. She drew a whip from her waist, and with a swift move, wrapped it around one man's hand. With a tug, she threw him onto the snowy ground. The other man met a similar fate. They saw Jiang Peihuan's black whip coming straight at their faces. Before they could react, they felt a burning pain on their faces. "Throw these 2 people out. If they dare to shout, break their limbs." Without waiting for their response, Jiang Peihuan ordered her servants. "Yes, eldest miss." Upon Jiang Peihuan's command, several servants came forward, dragging the 2 men away and quickly silencing them. Others had contemplated cutting in line, but after witnessing the scene, they silently returned to their place. "Here, your porridge. Hold it steady." Jiang Xijin then began distributing the porridge. On another line, Jiang Ruyun did the same. The queues were so long they seemed endless. "Set up another pot." "Yes. Elder sister." Just as Jiang Peihuan was preparing another distribution line, she heard Jiang Songbai's voice. He was dressed in his academy uniform, with Ping An closely following him. The 2 brothers of the Jiang family, Jiang Changbai and Jiang Songbai, learned martial arts and civil arts respectively. The followers of the 2 of them were brothers by blood. One of them was called Chang'an, and the other was called Ping An eldest sister. Seeing the young man rushing towards her, Jiang Peihuan's eyes softened with a gentle smile. "Did you just return home?" Third young master had just returned to the mansion. When he learned that you and the other mistresses were here distributing porridge, he came straight here, Ping An quickly relayed. "You should go home and rest," Jiang Peihuan suggested to Jiang Songbai after hearing Ping An's update. However, the young man shook his head. "Elder sister, I'm not tired. Let me help, okay?" Seeing Jiang Songbai's determination, Jiang Peihuan nodded in agreement. Seeing the many carts, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but smirk. She strongly suspected that Xiao Nanye had emptied Emperor Qiming's private treasury. Her guess was correct. Although a bit remained in Qiming Emperor's treasury, it was almost all gone. Wang Kuan looked at the emptied storage room and hurriedly ran to the Chenqing Palace. "Your Majesty, there's a problem. What are you shouting for?" Emperor Qiming was reviewing documents. Hearing Wang Kun's voice, he gave him a cold glance. Taking a deep breath, Wang Kuan spoke. "Your Majesty, King Cheng, What did he do? He has emptied your private treasury. What do you mean by emptied? All the treasures that Prince Harkai had offered, along with the original items in your treasury, have all been taken by King Cheng. He didn't leave any behind. Emperor Qiming directly threw the brush in his hand onto the table and looked at Wang Kuan as he spoke with anger in his eyes. Hesitatingly, Wang Kuan replied, he did leave some, but only some damaged fabrics. Anything useful was taken. Is he trying to rebel? Go and tell him to get into the palace right now. Yes, Your Majesty. Seeing the enraged Emperor Qiming, Wang Kuan hurriedly left. At that moment, Xiao Nanya was helping Jiang Peihuan distribute items. However, Han Feng soon rushed over. After paying his respects, Han Feng whispered, Master, the Emperor is furious. Has ordered you to come to the palace immediately. Oh. Upon hearing Han Feng's words, Xiao Nanya nodded and then continued to distribute the jackets. Jiang Peihuan, who was nearby, looked at him and said, Why does the Emperor want to see you? Probably because one emptied his private treasury. You. Don't tell me that the Emperor didn't know when you moved the things. Yes. Seeing him nod, Jiang Peihuan didn't know what to say. Looking at him, she quickly asked, So, how will you handle it? However it needs to be handled, after all, the items have already been given away. Jiang Peihuan was speechless. More than an hour later, Xiao Nanya slowly walked into the palace. As soon as he arrived at Qianqing Hall, a teacup was thrown directly at Xiao Nanya. This time, Emperor Qiming was genuinely angry, aiming the cup directly at Xiao Nanya's shoulder. However, with a sidestep, Xiao Nanya avoided it, and the teacup fell to the ground, shattering. Seeing this, both Emperor Qiming and Wang Kuan were stunned. A few seconds later, Emperor Qiming, filled with rage, yelled at Xiao Nanya, You dare dodge. Tell me, where are the items from my private treasury? Return them. No items to return. But if you want my life, you can have it. Xiao Nanya walked up to Emperor Qiming, sat on a chair beside him, and finally turned to Wang Kuan. Also, do you still have that Longjing tea I drank last time? Brew some for me. Your Highness, have you forgotten? All of that Longjing tea was given to you by the Emperor. Do you have any other teas? Brew some for me. Wang Kuan was truly amazed. Hearing Xiao Nanya's words, he silently left the room. Emperor Qiming was so angry he couldn't speak, he just glared at Xiao Nanya. Taking a teacup from Wang Kuan, Xiao Nanya leisurely took a sip and then turned to Emperor Qiming. Imperial brother, have you ever experienced the sensation of going through winter with only a single layer of clothing? What do you mean by that? The capital city is now filled with beggars. What did you say? I've exchanged everything from your private treasury for food and clothing, and they've all been handed to those beggars. Emperor Qiming wasn't a fool. A fool couldn't be an emperor. After a moment, he understood Xiao Nanya's intention. After a long while, he glared at Xiao Nanya angrily. If you wanted to give alms, why didn't you use items from your own private treasury instead of emptying mine? Didn't one tell you my treasury is already empty? Moreover, those are your people, so naturally, we have to empty your private treasury. Chapter 231, Danger in the Residence. All these years, you've been siphoning from me. Why is your private treasury empty? Did Imperial brother forget? I'm already betrothed. Everything from my private treasury has naturally been given to my future wife. Look at you, get out. Get out of my sight. By listening to Xiao Nanya's excuse and his matter-of-fact demeanor, Emperor Qiming felt a deep disappointment and anger. He slowly drank the tea in his cup and took his own sweet time to leave the Qianqing palace. After Xiao Nanya left, the anger in Emperor Qiming's eyes dissipated a little. Go and investigate the current situation in Jingdo for me, as well as how many things the local officials have hidden from me. Yes. Your Majesty. A man dressed in black suddenly appeared in the empty space in front of him. After bowing to Emperor Qiming, he left. Your Majesty, what about King Cheng's treasure? Wang Kuan spoke up once that man left. Let him be. Just assumed they are all gone. Hearing Emperor Qiming's words, Wang Kuan spoke no more, knowing this would be the outcome. However, it seemed as if Emperor Qiming had thought of something. He looked at Wang Kuan and whispered, "Summon the Empress." "Yes. At Cunning Palace." "Wang Kuan, why has His Majesty summoned me so late? Is there something urgent in the palace?" Nevertheless, a gentle smile formed on the Empress' face. "It's not exactly about the palace affairs." As they spoke, Wang Kuan whispered a few words into the Empress' ear. A moment later, the Empress arrived at the Palace of Heavenly Purity. The Palace of Heavenly Purity was the place where Emperor Qiming handled government affairs. Other than Emperor Qiming's orders, no one was allowed to enter. Upon entering the Qianqing Hall, the Empress bowed to Emperor Qiming. "Greetings, Your Majesty. Rise." Upon hearing the Empress' voice, Emperor Qiming set down the brush in his hand and walked over to sit by the side, gesturing for her to sit next to him. "Sit, one have something to discuss with you." "What does Your Majesty wish to tell?" "Tonight, that boy Nanya emptied my private treasury." "Why? Did he cause any trouble?" "What trouble could he cause? He only did this to distribute porridge in the city." "Empress, the snow this year is heavier and arrived earlier than usual. There are many beggars in the city, and probably even more outside." Emperor Qiming briefly described the situation in the city. "I may not share the same hardships as the people. However, I also shouldn't be overly extravagant. Thus, I called you here to supervise the harem. From today on, reduce the expenses by 10% and strictly prohibit any extravagance. Don't worry, Your Majesty, one will definitely handle this matter well." By listening to Emperor Qiming, the Empress understood the dire situation of the common people. Hence, she promptly responded. Emperor Qiming nodded with satisfaction, "One trust in your capabilities." The night deepened, but people from the city's general mansion continued to distribute porridge. "Eldest sister, most of the porridge has been distributed. Leave the rest to me. You, second sister, and Sai Jin should get some rest." Jiang Songbai looking at the diminishing queue, addressing Jiang Peihuan. "You've just returned from the academy. Let's head back to the mansion together after this." Hearing his words, Jiang Peihuan softly chuckled, "Elder sister, I'm a man with a strong body. It's fine even if I stay up all night. In this freezing cold, your health is a concern. Return to the mansion first, all right?" While speaking, Jiang Songbai adjusted and tightened the cloak around Jiang Peihuan. Seeing the young man before her, the look in Jiang Peihuan's eyes grew even softer. The young man looked naive, but his stature was already very upright. After some thought, Jiang Peihuan reached out and patted Jiang Songbai's shoulder to entrust the remaining work to him. "Elder sister, rest assured. It's getting late. Let's go back first and come back tomorrow morning." She reached out to Jiang Ruyun and Jiang Xijin. Many mansions only served porridge at noon, but Jiang Peihuan always served porridge in the morning, noon, and evening. Therefore, she really needed to go back and have a good rest. Jiang Ruyun and Jiang Xijin were also tired. They directly boarded the carriage. "Tomorrow morning, both of you don't need to come. Rest well and come over after lunch," Jiang Peihuan said softly. "No, eldest sister, I want to be with you." "Yes, elder sister, how can we let you work alone? I'll come with you." As soon as Jiang Peihuan finished speaking, Jiang Ruyun and Jiang Xijin immediately responded. Jiang Ruyun quickly added, "Elder sister, your health is weaker than ours. If you can come, there's no reason we can't. In that case, we'll come together tomorrow morning." "Yes." Upon returning to the general's mansion, everyone went back to their respective courtyards. "Eldest miss, the hot water is ready. After washing up, get some early rest." Yu placed the hot water on a nearby rack and gently spoke to Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan put down the medical book in her hand. "You've been tired for a long time today. Go and rest early. We have to get up early tomorrow." Received the cloth from Yu, Jiang Peihuan ordered her to go rest. "Yes." After bowing to Jian Peihuan, Yu left. After a quick wash, Jiang Peihuan picked up the medical book again to read a few pages before setting it down. She pulled back the covers and lay down directly on the bed, then extinguished the lamp with a gust from her palm. Jiang Peihuan could not sleep well. She always felt as if something was staring at her. She suddenly heard the yelping of Xiao Bai. Chapter 232. Xiao Bai's savior Jiang Peihuan felt a freezing breath came from the above. She quickly turned sideways to avoid it. Jiang Peihuan rushed to lit up the lamp. Under the light source, she saw a snake as thick as her arm laid on her bed. The colorful snake was curled up on her bed. Just moments ago, this snake was right above her head. If she hadn't reacted quickly, she would have been bitten. Jiang Peihuan was not sure of the snake species, but she was certain not to risk herself. If it was highly venomous, one would surely die on the spot. As Jiang Peihuan looked at the snake also turned its gaze towards her. Suddenly, it sprang from the bed. Shocked, Jiang Peihuan swiftly dodged. She ran out of her room. The snake chased her, racing out into the courtyard. Jiang Peihuan gripped the long sword in her hand tightly to confront the snake. Considering it was winter, logically, there should not be any snakes. But the snake crawled up to Jiang Peihuan. It began to open its mouth, aiming to strike. Jiang Peihuan's reaction was swift, but the snake managed to wrap its tail around Jiang Peihuan's wrist as she evaded its bite. The cold, slimy sensation made Jiang Peihuan shiver involuntarily. She quickly used her free hand to grasp the snake's head. Jiang Peihuan yanked it forcefully and threw it to the ground. Yet, the large snake immediately lunged at Jiang Peihuan again, causing a flicker of panic in her eyes. Just as she was pondering what to do, Jiang Peihuan saw a white figure darting towards her, followed by the sound of a wolf's howl by her ear. Xiao Bai was still just a wolf pup, similar to a puppy. When it howled, one could clearly distinguish that it was a wolf's cry. Xiao Bai, come back. Jiang Peihuan could not bear the thought of it being bitten to death by the large snake. Xiao Bai opened his jaws, biting directly into the snake's belly. The snake, writhing in pain, wrapped around Xiao Bai's neck to fight back. Xiao Bai started to lose its strength against a full-grown snake. The snake further tightened its grip and prepared to bite Xiao Bai once there was an opportunity. Jiang Peihuan quickly rushed toward the snake with her long sword. The snake shook off Xiao Bai in pain. Jiang Peihuan catched Xiao Bai quickly. If it fell to the ground with its body condition now, it would be a fatal injury. Placing Xiao Bai on the ground, Jiang Peihuan whispered, Xiao Bai, well done. Stay still. Jiang Peihuan raised her sword, aiming it directly at the snake. The most vulnerable part of a snake was 7 inches behind its head. When Jiang Peihuan's advance forward, the snake neither dodged nor hid. It seems like a final round between them. The snake leaped powerfully once it noticed Jiang Peihuan was closed enough, its tail coiling around the wrist that held the sword. Now, she was certain, this snake had been trained well to carry out assassination. She quickly reached out with her left hand, grabbing the hairpin gifted by Xiaonanye, concealed a dagger. Jiang Peihuan the snake's vulnerable spot with the dagger. The snake, writhing in agony, twisted even more violently. A sharp pain shot through Jiang Peihuan's wrist. With one hand bound and the other stabbing the snake, she couldn't dodge. The snake struggled to gather its last strength to bite her. Qi. Xiao Bai on the ground, upon seeing this scene, rushed forward for the rescue. Perhaps it was Xiao Bai's repeated provocations that angered the large snake. This time, with its last breath the snake charged towards Xiao Bai as well. Xiao Bai. Anxiety filled Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to stab again, she saw a silhouette rushing towards them. Huan stay still. It was Xiaonanye. After Xiaonanye came out of the palace, he went to the porridge distribution station only to find Jiang Songbai was there. He found out that Jiang Peihuan had already returned to the residence after asking Jiang Songbai. Xiaonanye went back to the general's mansion directly. When he saw the scene in front of him, his eyes were filled with panic. Hearing Xiaonanye's voice, Jiang Peihuan halted her actions. Xiaonanye had already drawn his long sword. Leaping forward, with a swift stroke, he severed the snake's head. In the end, the snake managed to bite Xiao Bai. Luckily, the snake only managed to bite Xiao Bai's leg. Xiao Bai kept howling. Jiang Peihuan quickly approached and carried it in her arms. Xiao Bai stopped struggling with fear. The snake was still wriggling on the ground. Xiao Nanya stepped forward and quickly cut the snake into several pieces. After that only he walked to Jian Peihuan's side and examined Xiao Bai's injury with her. Although the snake's head had been chopped off, its teeth were still firmly biting onto Little White's leg. At this moment, Xiao Nanya was deeply grateful that he had brought Xiao Bai back from the West Mountain. Eldest Miss. How can this snake be so big? When the people in the plum garden heard the commotion, they had already gotten up. Yu saw the snake that had been cut into several pieces in the courtyard, and her eyes were filled with shock. What happened to Xiao Bai? Yu saw Xiao Bai had been bitten by the snake's head. At this moment, Xiao Nanya grabbed Jian Peihuan's hand. Let me do it. Go get some wine. Xiao Nanya whispered to Yu. Yes. A while later, Yu ran all the way to Xiao Nanya's side with some wine. Xiao Nanya took the wine pot from Yu. Xiao Nanya poured the wine on Xiao Bai's injury spot. Soon, the snake's head loosened its teeth. However, Xiao Bai also fell to the ground and spat out white foam from the corner of its mouth. Xiao Bai. Jiang Peihuan stepped forward and picked Xiao Bai up from the ground. Jian Peihuan's eyes were filled with worry as she looked at Xiao Bai. Initially, Jian Peihuan treated Xiao Bai as a pet. However, what happened tonight changed her view of Xiao Bai. Tonight, Xiao Bai no longer just a pet but a guardian to her. By the way, when making the incision, all the fur on the pup's leg needs to be shaved off. If any hair falls into the wound, it could easily cause it to fester. The veterinarian dared not touch the little wolf. After leaving the medicine, he left quickly. After the vet left, Jiang Peihuan turned to Xiao Nanya and said, "I'll shave the fur." "I'll do it." Without waiting for Jiang Peihuan to react, Xiao Nanya took out a dagger. When Xiao Nanya and Jian Peihuan were trying to shave off its fur, Xiao Bai tried its best not to move. When Xiao Nanya cut the wound, the little wolf wailed constantly. Hearing the little wolf's cries, Jiang Peihuan hurriedly touched its head. "Xiao Bai, it will be over soon. We know it was painful. Just a little while." The little wolf didn't resist anymore but kept trembling. After making the incision, Xiao Nanya squeezed out the poisonous blood from the wound. Han Feng approached to help. After a short while, the blood turned red. Huan the medicine. Jiang Peihuan, standing by, quickly applied the medicine left by the vet. After that, she bandaged the wound. After everything was done, Jiang Peihuan held Xiao Bai in her arms, gently stroking its head. "This little fellow knows how to protect its master," Han Feng remarked. But the sudden appearance of a snake is really strange, Han Feng questioned himself. This snake didn't appear here on its own, it's a trained snake and someone brought it over. Jiang Peihuan whispered. As they walked out of the yard, Xiao Nanya looked at the snake, which was cut into several sections on the ground. He coldly ordered Han Feng, "Investigate where this snake came from." "Yes." After Han Feng left, Xiao Nanya told Jiang Peihuan, "Huan stay alert for these days." "All right. Eldest Miss, the quilts on the bed have all been changed and checked carefully." Yu approached Jiang Peihuan and whispered. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan nodded. "Miss, should we inform the general and the lady about this?" Yu was very concerned about this accident. "No need to tell my father and mother." Sitting in the chair, Jiang Peihuan gently stroked Xiao Bai's head. "Yes." In Yu's heart, Jiang Peihuan's words always came first. "Do you have any clues in mind?" After Yu left, Xiao Nanya turned to Jiang Peihuan and asked. "No." Hearing Xiao Nanya's words, Jiang Peihuan shook her head. She had offended many people, and she couldn't immediately think of who might want to kill her. "It's okay if you don't know. I've already asked Han Feng to investigate. We'll have the answer soon. It's getting late, you should rest. Are you going back to the palace?" Lying in bed, Jiang Peihuan, seeing Xiao Nanya sitting by her bed. "I'll leave after you fall asleep." But I'm not sleepy at all. Chapter 234, Leave it to him to deal with. Jiang Peihuan truly wasn't sleepy at this moment. Xiao Nanya did not respond verbally. Instead, he pulled out a bamboo flute from his robe. Jiang Peihuan looked on with a touch of surprise as Xiao Nanye brought the flute. Shortly after, the melodic tones filled the room. Its sound was soothing and relaxing. She felt at ease. Sitting by Jiang Peihuan's bedside, Xiao Nanye played the flute. His sight never took off from her. Whether it was because of Xiao Nanye's presence or the calming tunes of the flute, Jiang Peihuan started feeling drowsy. Xiao Nanye's tune became even more gentle. A few moments later, her breathing evened out in sleep. Xiao Nanye stopped playing. After carefully tucking Jiang Peihuan in, Xiao Nanye made his way out of the room. Guard her closely. Yes. Yi Xiao was standing outside the door. She promptly bowed in acknowledgement. Subsequently, Xiao Nanye left the general's mansion. By early dawn, Han Feng returned to Cheng Mansion. Approaching Xiao Nanye's study, he noticed the candlelight still flickering inside. Han Feng gently knocked on the door. Master, come in. Hearing the voice from inside, Han Feng opened the door. After taking 2 steps forward and bowing to Xiao Nanye, Han Feng spoke softly. Master, I have found out that the snake is Princess Zhuoma's pet. Where is she? At the post station. Take the mansion guards and surround the post station. Yes. Post station. An hour later, Xiao Nanye, dressed in black, walked into the post station. The whole place was brightly lit. Ha Kai greeted him as he came out. After bowing to Xiao Nanye, Ha Kai asked softly, Your Highness, may I ask the reason for your visit at this late hour? In these few days, Ha Kai had come to understand the intricate relationships among the city's influential figures. Thus, he was acutely aware of the immense power and influence wielded by the figure now standing before him, King Cheng. I came here late at night not to seek you but to find Princess Zhuoma. Zhuoma. Has Zhuoma offended you in some way? Thinking back to the hurried manner in which Zhuoma had recently left the post station, Ha Kai couldn't help but frown. He truly regretted it now. If he had known earlier that Zhuoma would be so restless, he wouldn't have brought her from the grasslands, despite her beauty. First Prince, are you aware that Princess Zhuoma attempted to harm my future queen by using a snake? Han Feng, who stood beside Xiao Nanye, directly addressed Ha Kai upon hearing his words. Hearing this, Ha Kai's expression fluctuated. The eldest miss of the general's mansion. The influence and stature of the general's mansion in the capital was not to be underestimated. This was the information Ha Kai had gathered over the past few days. King Cheng, could there be some misunderstanding regarding this matter? Han Feng, bring the thing over. Yes. Shortly after, Han Feng approached Ha Kai with a box. He directly opened it. A strong, pungent odor of blood emanated from the box. Inside lay a snake, chopped into several sections. Ha Kai's complexion shifted, and his already troubled expression became even graver. It seems, you recognizes this snake. Noticing the recognition in his eyes, Xiao Nanye chuckled. Ha Kai nodded in acknowledgement. This colorful snake was unique to their grassland tribes, and he couldn't deny it. Where is Princess Zhuoma? She has entered the palace. Thank you for informing, First Prince. With that, Xiao Nanye turned and left directly. Watching Xiao Nanye's departing figure, Ha Kai hurriedly caught up. King Cheng, this matter concerns my grassland tribe, one will accompany you. Saying so, Ha Kai mounted his horse. Sitting atop his steed, Zui Yun, Xiao Nanye seemed lost in thought, then suddenly instructed Han Feng beside him, go to the general's mansion and ask Jiang Peihuan to come to the palace. Yes. Han Feng raised his whip. At this time, Jiang Peihuan had already gotten up. She was about to go to the city. As she walked into the courtyard, she saw Han Feng descending from the sky. Xiao Nanye loves to climb over the wall to visit her every day instead of walking through the front gate. Like his master, Han Feng shared the same habit. Eldest Miss. Han Feng walked up to Jiang Peihuan and bowed respectfully. Waving her hand dismissively, Jiang Peihuan softly asked, Why have you come? Eldest Miss, the master has identified the owner of the snake. He has requested you to visit the palace. Whose snake is it? Princess Zhuoma. Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan wasn't surprised at all. Such a venomous snake could only come from the grassland tribes. Elder sister? Eldest sister? Jiang Xijin and Jiang Ruyun entered the plum garden. Seeing the two of them, Jiang Peihuan said softly, I have something to deal with. You guys go to the city first. Yes. Elder sister, do you have something to deal with? Do you need my help? It's just a small matter. Jiang Peihuan didn't want to share the events of the previous night with the household to avoid unnecessary worry. After sending Jiang Xijin and Jiang Ruyun on their way, Jiang Peihuan followed Han Feng to the palace. Upon reaching the palace gates, Jiang Peihuan noticed Xiao Nanya waiting. The man was draped in the white cloak that she had tailored for him. Hearing her approach, he turned to face her. Huan. A hint of warmth flashed in Xiao Nanya's eyes. Inside the palace, horses were prohibited. As Jiang Peihuan prepared to dismount, she noticed Xiao Nanya extending a hand to assist her. Placing her hand in his, she gracefully alighted from her horse. Let's go in. You don't have to worry about this matter. Leave it to me. Without the emperor's decree, no one was allowed to enter the palace, but no one dared to stop them. Once inside the palace, Xiao Nanya turned to Jiang Peihuan. With his words, she nodded. Initially, Jiang Peihuan had intended to resolve this matter privately. However, now that Xiao Nanya had escalated the situation, she will go with the flow. In the Qianqing Palace, Emperor Qiming had just risen when he heard Wang Kun's report. Of all the names mentioned, he only caught on to Xiao Nanya's. What's that fellow doing here so early in the morning? He whispered. I am not sure. But, the eldest miss from the Jiang family, as well as Prince Ha Kai and Princess Xue Ma, have also arrived too. Chapter 235. She's so weak Emperor Qiming has no choice. Let them in. A moment later, the four of them walked into Qianqing Palace. Your Majesty, the Qing King, General Lin, the Great General, and all the ministers have arrived. As soon as Xiao Nanya and Jiang Peihuan entered Qianqing Palace, Wang Kuan walked up to Emperor Qiming and said, What are they trying to do? Let them in. Forget it, let's go to Changming Palace. Qianqing Hall was where Emperor Qiming handled official matters. Although it was not small, it was not very big either. In contrast, the Changming Hall next to it was much more expansive. By the time Emperor Qiming arrived, the Changming Hall was already filled with people. Haoner, are you all right? Upon spotting Jiang Peihuan standing beside Xiao Nanya, Jiang Hong hastened forward. Seeing the worry in Jiang Hong's eyes, Jiang Peihuan smiled. Father, rest assured, I'm fine. Relief washed over Jiang Hong as he glimpsed her smile. Turning to Xiao Nanya, his eyes reflected gratitude and approval. King Cheng, thank you for what you did last night. Great General, you are too polite. It was what I should have done. Jiang Hong's expression softened further at Xiao Nanya's response. Upon setting his eyes on Princess Xue Ma, did they really think the Jiang family was defenseless? A princess from a minor tribe dared to harm his beloved Huan. At this moment, Xue Ma did not notice Jiang Hong's gaze. She stared at Jiang Peihuan. When she saw Jiang Peihuan standing very much alive before her, Xue Ma hadn't expected someone to survive the bite of her colorful snake. When she turned around, she met Xiao Nanya's cold, menacing gaze. His eyes didn't seem to be looking at a living person, but rather, a corpse. Xiao Nanya was filled with regret. He shouldn't have come directly to the palace. Instead, he should have ended this woman's life outside. Perhaps sensing the killing intention from Xiao Nanya, Jiang Peihuan gently tugged at his sleeve. Seeing the expression in Jiang Peihuan's eyes, the man's face softened slightly. What are you all trying to do? At this moment, Emperor Qiming also walked over. As he spoke, Emperor Qi's gaze fell on Xiao Nanya. Imperial brother, Princess Xue Ma attempted kill my future queen with her snake. What should be her punishment? You're saying Princess Xue Ma tried to have Jiang Peihuan dead by a snake? Emperor Qiming, now familiar with Jiang Peihuan's name, instinctively turned to Xue Ma. Princess Xue Ma, is this true? Responding to Emperor Qiming, Xue Ma began, it's a misunderstanding, I didn't dash. She was cut off as a wooden box was thrown towards her. Instinctively dodging, the box hit the ground, releasing the dead snake inside. Many had gathered in Changming Hall, and upon witnessing this, their expressions varied. This is the snake that the first prince mentioned from the grassland tribes. Princess Zhuama, do you have anything to say? Your Highness, this snake is from the grasslands. Why can you be so sure that it belongs to me? Ha! Though his face held a smile, his eyes were void of amusement, filled instead with a chilling intensity. Without uttering a word, he clapped his hands softly. Han Feng entered the hall, leading a maid. It was Zhuama's personal maid. As who? Zhuama looked anxious when she saw her maid. She looked at Xiao Nanye and said in a low voice, Your Highness, why did you capture my maid? What I detained was not just any maid, but the one who released the snake into the general's mansion, he replied coldly. Your Highness King Cheng, don't be ridiculous. When did I release a snake into the general's mansion? As who retorted quietly. Xiao Nanye, seemingly unfazed, shifted his gaze back to Emperor Qiming. Imperial brother, I came today to request a decree. Speak. If I can prove that this snake was indeed released by Princess Zhuama and her maid into the general's mansion, please grant me permission to execute both the princess and the maid. This. While Emperor Qiming could disregard the execution of the maid, he seemed conflicted about executing Princess Zhuama. However, Emperor Qiming has always acceded to Xiao Nanye's requests. So, Emperor Qiming directly addressed Jiang Peihuan, Miss Jiang, you are the victim. What do you have to say about this matter? Huan is just a young maiden. She's delicate and must have been scared out of her wits. Why question her? Since she's to be my wife, I could decide on her matters. Before Jiang Peihuan could even speak, Xiao Nanye spoke up. Hearing Xiao Nanye describe her as delicate, both Emperor Qiming and Jiang Hong twitched their lips. Perhaps Imperial Uncle is misunderstanding the meaning of delicate. This was uttered by Xiao Juanhao. In Xiao Junhao's memory, Jiang Peihuan was always fierce as a tigress. Now, seeing her standing so obediently by Xiao Nanye's side, Xiao Juanhao felt nothing but jealousy. He voiced out after listening to Xiao Nanye's comment. Silence. When I'm speaking with the emperor, where do you get the right to interrupt? Xiao Nanye glared coldly at Xiao Juanhao and scolded him. Xiao Juanhao was speechless right away. Your Highness, Miss Jiang hasn't been hurt at all. Why are you so aggressive? Wouldn't this make... Before Lin Ruhai could finish his words, a pain came from his abdomen. Xiao Nanye performed a flying kick on Lin Ruhai and sent him flying and sliding for another 2 meters even when he hit the ground. Your Highness, how dare you be so impudent in front of His Majesty? Lin Ruhai stood up and looked at Xiao Nanye coldly. In this case, one didn't manage to kill you, so why should Lord Lin bother about it? Xiao Nanye's action indicated the same thing happened on his Huan. Even she was safe now, but the intention was unforgivable. The few ministers who were about to speak silently shut their mouths. At this moment, Jiang Hong suddenly knelt in front of Emperor Qiming. Jiang Hong, what are you trying to do? Emperor Qiming only felt a headache when Jiang Hong kneeling in front of him. Your Majesty, my daughter has met with such a calamity without any reason. I beseech you to seek justice on her behalf. Nanyi, didn't you say you had a way to prove that the snake was released by Princess Zhuama? How do you plan to prove it? Emperor Qiming did not ultimately respond to Xiao Nanye's conditions, but Xiao Nanye did not persist either. With Emperor Qiming's words, Xiao Nanye suddenly flew towards Princess Zhuama. You! They asked for help repeatedly. Sister, please save our grandpa, Deputy General Liu. Eldest miss. Find a place to give these 2 children some food and clothes. Sister, we don't want food or clothes. We just want you to save my grandfather. As she spoke, the 2 children wanted to kneel down again, but Jiang Peihuan held them up. Chapter 237. Xiao Nanye makes his move. Help yourself to get something to eat first. 111 Treat your grandfather right away. Only after you've eaten, you have the strength to take care for him, understand? The two children agreed to eat, taking the porridge offered to them by those nearby. After settling the old man on somewhere much proper, Jiang Peihuan took her time to diagnose him properly. Yi Xiao, go to the pharmacy and fetch some medicine for cold symptoms. Yes. After Yi Xiao left, Xiao Nanye approached Jiang Peihuan. Did this old man catch a cold? Looking at the old man in front of him, Xiao Nanye guessed his sickness too. He had overheard Jiang Peihuan's conversation with Yi Xiao. It's not just cold. His body has severe deficiencies. Such deficiencies were the result of prolonged neglect and couldn't be fully cured. Jiang Peihuan returned to the porridge distribution line once she did her best to treat the old man. Despite being in snowy weather, the two young children smiled warmly, staying by the side of their unconscious grandfather. Witnessing this, Jiang Peihuan felt a whirlwind of emotions. With her limited power, she couldn't change much. The best she could offer was a bowl of porridge. Master, something happened outside the city. Han Feng suddenly rushed to Xiao Nanye's side. Seeing Han Feng in such a nervous state now made her gaze shift towards him and Xiao Nanye. What happened? Many refugees have heard about the porridge distribution inside the city and headed here. The city guards are strictly guarding the gates and have already killed numerous refugees. Xiao Nanye. His eyes were filled with unsightly expressions. Huan you stay here and take care of the rest. I'll make a trip. Are you going to the city gate? Jiang Peihuan said directly, 111 go with you. All right. Although Xiao Nanye wasn't sure why Jiang Peihuan wanted to come, he wouldn't deny her request. The two rode their horses towards the city gate. Jiang Peihuan had anticipated the severity of the scene at the city gate, still it was an awful sight no matter how many times. The capital had 4 gates. Massive crowds of refugees blocked all 4 entrances, east, west, south, and north. Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanye arrived at the eastern gate, the main entrance. Dozens of bodies already lay near the city gate. The soldiers guarding the door were still attacking the refugee to chase them off. Stop! Xiao Nanye shouted. Before his command, the soldiers had already released their arrows. Without hesitation, Xiao Nanye deflecting all the arrow with his folding fan. Greetings, King Cheng. Upon seeing the sudden appearance of Xiao Nanye, the city guards and officers promptly saluted him. Who gave you the audacity to shoot at the civilians? As the number 1 merchant, the Liu family would definitely has the most volume. With current situation, it was not a wise move for the merchants to raise the price. Chapter 238, Raising the Grain Price. Although the city gate was open, due to Xiao Nanye's presence at the entrance, the refugees didn't dare to step forward. They had also heard what Xiao Nanye just said. With both of their promise to distribute food here, the refugees were filled with hope now. The People Cheng mansion arrived very quickly. Jiang Peihuan heard the rhythmic sound of hoofbeats. Han Feng has led the group here. Behind him was a line of carts, all laden with grain. Jiang Peihuan stepped forward, directing the King Cheng mansion's people to unload the grain and set up the cooking pots. The grain was quickly cooked, and everything was ready within a quarter of an hour. Looking at the vast crowd, Jiang Peihuan frowned. Eldest miss, do you have any other instructions? Han Feng, who had been by Jiang Peihuan's side, immediately approached her upon seeing her concerned expression. Have them line up, the elder and children first, then the women. Yes. Han Feng tried to organize the refugees into lines, but they were unfamiliar with such order. There was troublemaker disobey Jiang Peihuan's instructed. Without negotiation, Han Feng taught him a lesson. With the scenario, everyone started to queue up properly. The queues for each line were so long they seemed endless even with 5 large pots ready. More and more people kept arriving from other gates. Huan Jiang Peihuan searched around once she heard the voice was calling her. Jiang Changbai has returned from the military camp. Beside him were Xue Qi and Xue Ji. Elder brother, cousin Qi, cousin Ji. Upon seeing the 3 of them, Jiang Peihuan stepped forward and bowed. Huan ain't the food station was inside the city? Why are you doing here? As he spoke, Jiang Changbai looked around. Jiang Changbai's eyes were filled with worry. Elder brother, if there's nothing else, you can stay and help. After Jiang Peihuan briefly explained the matter, she looked at Jiang Changbai and said, All right, I'll help too. Huan we can help too. Xue Qi and Xue Ji, who were at the side, also agreed to help. With their help, 3 more big pots were added. The entire entrance to the city was filled with the aroma of porridge. The refugees who received their porridge had tears in their eyes. Eldest miss, if this continues, we'll run out of grain. Han Feng approached Jiang Peihuan and whispered. Even though they had bought a lot of grain from the Liu family's shop, it wasn't enough for every tummy to fill up. Eldest miss, should one return to the Liu family's shop to buy more grain? We can't rely on the Liu family for now. Jiang Peihuan had already taken a large amount of food and cotton clothes from the Liu family. If she took more, even the Liu family would not be able to bear it. Have you gone to other shops to check on the situation? Jiang Peihuan said softly. Yes, but the other merchants are offering extremely high prices. Only the Liu family's shops are selling at usual price. Liu family's shop was running out of stock soon. After a moment of silence, Jiang Peihuan looked at Han Feng and said, Let's go to the city to buy food. Yes, miss. You stay here and guard. I will take Han Feng to the city to buy food. Jiang Peihuan needed Xiao Nanye to keep things in order. All right. Do you have enough money? Xiao Nanye asked Jiang Peihuan before she took her leave. Don't worry, there's still quite a lot of money you gave me earlier. After saying that, Jiang Peihuan rode her horse towards the city. Once in the city, she first checked on the porridge distribution situation at the general's mansion. Jiang Peihuan, accompanied by Han Feng, proceeded to the city's grain shop. Eldest miss, are you here to buy grain? When the shopkeeper saw Jiang Peihuan enter, his eyes were full of smiles. He was well aware of the general's mansion's porridge distribution in the city. The more porridge distributed, the more grain she would need, which meant more profits for them. Yes, I'm here for the grain. Jiang Peihuan nodded with a smile. Shopkeeper, what's the price for this grain? Eldest miss, this grain has better quality. Therefore, the price is a bit higher compared to regular grain, 200 wen per jin. 200 wen? Jiang Peihuan's eyes were filled with unsightly expressions. In the past, a jin of grain was only 50 copper coins, and it shared the same quality. Eldest miss, you knows that rice are rare now, so, perhaps the shopkeeper also realized the expression of Jiang Peihuan. So you merchants can capitalize on the situation, profiting from the nation's crisis? Jiang Peihuan interrupted him before he could finish. Upon hearing her words, the shopkeeper started to panic. Eldest miss, why say such things? Every shop in the capital is raising prices. The Liu family's shop hasn't. Han Feng, who was beside Jiang Peihuan, remarked coldly. They are simply naive. Although the shopkeeper's muttering voice was very soft, Jiang Peihuan and Han Feng were both martial arts practitioners and had excellent hearing, so they could still hear it clearly. Jiang Peihuan's eyes revealed a bit of gloominess. Initially, she planned to negotiate reasonably, but now it seemed futile. Let me be direct. The grain we buy today is for King Cheng. There are hundreds of thousands of refugees there. Do you still want to charge 200 when today? This. Eldest miss, please don't make things difficult for me. So, you are sticking to that price? Jiang Peihuan's smile remained, but her eyes had given the shopkeeper a warning signal. Eldest miss, why bother talking so much to him? If our master were here, he would probably be dead by now. He only dragging this out because you are too kind. I'll only ask you once. Are you going to lower the price of grain or not? Han Feng pulled out his sword and pointed it at the shopkeeper's neck. What do you want? You. Before the shopkeeper could finish his words, Han Feng's sword had already cut his arm. Are you going to lower the price or not? Han Feng's sword was aimed at the shopkeeper's other hand. One don't have the final say. This shop isn't mine. I'm just following orders. Then can you tell me, whose shop is this? It belongs to the Lin family. Chapter 239. Buying grain. Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but frown. It was Lin family's act again. Han Feng, load all the grains in the store. At your service. Han Feng acted once he heard Jiang Peihuan's order. The shopkeeper walked to Jiang Peihuan's side and said with pleading eyes, Miss Jiang, you can't take like this. 1. I will pay according to the market price. You may report it to the Lin family. Just say that one bought all. Jiang Peihuan left the shop directly after Han Feng and the other servants moved all the available grains in the shop. The Liu family was the first family aware about Jiang Peihuan's movement. Miss Jiang. When Jiang Peihuan on her way back, she saw Liu Hao coming over. Cousin from the Liu family, thank you so much for your help this time. Jiang Peihuan was genuinely grateful when she met Liu Hao for all the contribution by the Liu family. It's just a minor effort on our part, Liu Hao quickly replied. Miss Jiang, did you bought these grains from the Lin family's shop? Their grain is quite expensive now. If you need grains, I can have some sent to you. Cousin Liu, thank you for your kindness, but I can't keep taking grains from the Liu family. Once or twice is fine, but I can't always bother you. Besides, the grains behind me were purchased at the regular price. Regular price? Liu Hao was confused. Young Master Liu, these grains are bought by our Cheng Mansion's mistress. Who would dare to raise the price? Han Feng reported proudly to Liu Hao. I see. Cousin Liu, I need to get these grains to the city gate quickly, so I'll take my leave now. Have a safe journey, Miss Jiang. Liu Hao immediately stepped aside. Jiang Peihuan rode Lai Feng along with Han Feng and their servants to the city gate. Quickly, prepare the carriage. One need to go to the Lin mansion. Once Jiang Peihuan and Han Feng left, the shopkeeper immediately rushed to the Lin family. Lin mansion. At Lin Ruhai's study hall. How preposterous. What right does she have? She has crossed the line too far. Lin Ruhai's eyes were filled with fury after learning about the event. The shopkeeper at the side trembled in fear and did not dare to say a word. Father, this can be considered a good thing. Let's just ignore it. Lin Mengyaro saw the anger in Lin Ruhai's eyes and gently advised him. Ever since Lin Mengyaro became Xiao Junhao's side consort and he was no longer the favorite servant of Emperor Qiming, Lin Ruhai's attitude towards Lin Mengyaro had changed. This incident has caused our family financial loss. How can we just let it go? Father, the grain was taken away on the orders of King Cheng. If the emperor heard about the raised price of food without his command, he might. We aren't the only ones doing this. You don't have to say any more. Chapter 240. The confrontation in the Qianqing Palace. Lin Ruhai wanted to say something, but he could not say a word. He stared intently at Jiang Peihuan. How did you know? General Lin, it was extremely hard to keep any secret. There are few secrets in this world that remain unknown. Han Feng, call Lin Xingqian over. Yes. Xiao Nanya looked at Lin Ruhai. Didn't Lord Lin want to seek judgment from the emperor? Let's go now. Huan I'll leave you in charge of here. Xiao Nanya looked at Jian Peihuan and said softly. If everything was entangled, Emperor Qiming would have other thoughts. So she decided to not involve in this matter. She nodded and let her man sorted it out. Then, Xiao Nanya rode on Zui Yun and headed towards the palace. In the Imperial Palace. At Qianqing Palace. Your Majesty, His Highness King Cheng is here. Wang Kuan made his report to Emperor Qiming. Upon hearing Wang Kun's words, Emperor Qiming put down the pen in his hand and asked, why is he here again? What has he come for this time? He seems to have some pressing matters to discuss, involving both Your Majesty and Lord Lin. Hearing this, a hint of curiosity appeared in Emperor Qiming's eyes. Lord Lin, all right. Let them in. Yes, Your Majesty. Wang Kuan went to the palace entrance and addressed Xiao Nanya. Your Highness, the Emperor invites you in. Okay. Xiao Nanya stepped into the Qianqing Palace. Lin Ruhai had long forgotten the matter about the grain. At this moment, his full attention was on Lin Xingqian beside him. Lin Xingchen exuded a cold aura. Following Xiao Nanye and then paid his respects. Greetings, Your Majesty. What is this about? Emperor Qiming spoke calmly. However, his gaze landed squarely on Xiao Nanye. Your Majesty, one beg for your intervention. Lin Ruhai recalled the main reason for his visit. Kneeling on the ground, he repeatedly begging and lamenting about Jiang Peihuan's wrongdoings. Are you implying Jiang Peihuan stole the grain from your store to distribute porridge? Yes, I beseech your majesty to act justly. Imperial brother, that grain has nothing to do with Huan Er. It was my decision moreover, one paid for them. Xiao Nanye mentioned about the payment. Your majesty, what King Cheng paid is far below from the market price. Lord Lin, do you have the audacity to speak of your profiteering during a national crisis in front of my imperial brother? What is going on here? Hearing the voices of the two, Emperor Qiming frowned. Lin Ruhai, who was beside him, was about to speak subconsciously, but before he could, Emperor Qiming said directly, "Shut up." After saying that, Emperor Qiming looked at Xiao Nanye and said, "Tell me what happened." Imperial brother, there are tens of thousands of refugees outside the city now. Many families in the city have started to give out porridge. But some unscrupulous shops have taken the opportunity to raise the price. Lord Lin is one of them. Lin Ruhai, is this true? Hearing Xiao Nanye's allegations, Emperor Qiming's questioned Lin Ruhai to explain his intention. Lin Ruhai's heart pounded wildly when he saw the expression of the Emperor. Your Majesty, I'm not the only one. All merchants in the market have increased their prices. Explain to me why Liu family selling their grain at the usual price. It's fine if you raise the grain price, business is about profit. But you actually sent people to the Liu family's shop to buy as many as you could to monopolize the market. So you could control the price. Before Lin Ruhai could finish his sentence, Xiao Nanye interrupted him coldly. Lin Ruhai's eyes were filled with shock when he heard Xiao Nanye's words. No one should have knew about this. Lin Ruhai, how dare you? Emperor Qiming looked at the person kneeling on the ground, his eyes filled with anger. And who is this? Meanwhile, Emperor Qiming also saw Lin Xingchen. Imperial brother, he is under my command, but he is also the only remaining descendant of the Lin family's direct bloodline. A direct descendant of the Lin family? What is your name? How are you related to Lin Tianyang? I am Lin Xingchen. Lin Tianyang is my father. You're Lin Tianyang's son? Raise your head. Upon Emperor Qiming's command, Lin Xingchen raised his head. Seeing his features, Emperor Qiming exclaimed, the resemblance is uncanny. If you are truly the son of Lin Tianyang, why have I never heard of you all these years? Your Majesty, about that, silence. I didn't ask you anything. Upon hearing the conversation between Emperor Qiming and Lin Xingchen, a look of urgency filled Lin Ruhai's eyes on the side. He instinctively wanted to speak, but just as he opened his mouth, he was rebuked by Emperor Qiming. Your Majesty, when my father was gravely ill, Lord Lin took the opportunity to seize the Lin family's property. My legitimate lineage dwindled from then on. As for myself, if not for the few loyal servants by my side, the direct line of the Lin family would have been extinct long ago. You're lying. Upon hearing Lin Xingchen's words, Lin Ruohai couldn't hold back any longer. Pointing at Lin Xingchen, he looked towards Emperor Qiming, saying anxiously, Your Majesty, these are merely his one-sided words. When my cousin was gravely ill years ago, I became the head of the Lin family because it was his dying wish. All these years, one have always been looking for Xingchen. You've indeed been looking for me. Your goal in looking for me is to eliminate me completely. These are all your own words. Do you have any evidence? Lin Xingchen, I ask you, do you have evidence for what you've said? Upon hearing the two's words, Emperor Qiming fell into silence. After a brief moment, he looked at Lin Xingchen and spoke. In Emperor Qiming's eyes, there was a mixture of emotions as he spoke. Your Majesty, one have no proof. Your Majesty, I have evidence. At this moment, a voice from outside the hall echoed, it was Jiang Peihuan. Upon hearing that voice, Emperor Qiming spoke directly, why is she everywhere? Wang Kuan, go and let her in. Yes. Wang Kuan hurriedly walked to the entrance of the hall. Looking at Jiang Peihuan and Lin Mengxian standing there. Thank you, Chief Wang. Wang Kuan smiled and said, Miss, the Emperor is waiting for you. Jiang Peihuan glanced at Lin Mengxian and then brought her in together. We, Jiang Peihuan and Lin Mengxian, greet your Majesty. Once inside, Jiang Peihuan immediately knelt in a gesture of respect. Why have you come here? Chapter 241, Lin Mengxian as witness to your Majesty. The matter concerning the rice and grain today can be said to have arisen because of me, so I came. Jiang Peihuan began. You mentioned you have evidence. What do you have here? Your Majesty, this is the daughter from the third branch of the Lin family. She can confirm the truth of Lin Xingcan's words. Jiang Peihuan turned to Lin Mengxian beside her and said, Mengxian, who allowed you to come here? Were you threatened by someone? As he uttered the last sentence, Lin Ruhai glaring intently at Jiang Peihuan. However, she seemed completely unconcerned by his gaze. Brother Xingchen? When Lin Mengxian first arrived, her eyes were filled with fear. When she kneeling beside Lin Xingchen, her eyes instantly welled up with tears, yet they sparkled with joy. Lin Xingchen remained silent when he saw her, clenching his fists even tighter. Your Majesty, Brother Xingchen was originally the rightful heir of the Lin family. But he was too young at the time, so all the household matters were handed over to our great-uncle. After bowing to Emperor Qiming, Lin Mengxian began in a soft voice. As Brother Xingchen grew older, one by one, the people around him started to die, and eventually, Brother Xingchen disappeared as well. Your Highness, it's the Lin family betrayed Brother Xingchen. It was our family that seized everything that belonged to him. It was, Lin Mengxian, watch your mouth. When Lin Ruhai heard Lin Mengxian's words, his eyes were filled with viciousness. He rushed forward and kicked Lin Mengxian's chest, causing her to spit out a mouthful of blood. Lin Ruhai, how dare you? Emperor Qiming's eyes were filled with anger. Xiao Nanye quickly stepped forward and tackled Lin Ruhai's down to prevent him further harming Lin Mengxian. Xiao Nanye pulled out his sword and aimed it at his neck. How dare you be so impudent in front of me and my imperial brother? Do you believe that one will kill you now? Xin. Looking at the pale Lin Mengxian, Lin Xingchen went up to hold her in his arm. Brother Xingchen, you don't know. After you left, there was no one to protect Xin anymore. Miss Lin, don't say anything. Stay still. Seeing that she has internal bleeding and every sentence she spoke caused her to cough blood, Jiang Peihuan quickly stopped her. Your Majesty, Miss Lin is seriously injured. Can you allow me to treat her here? You know about medical? I know a little. Jiang Peihuan did not want to expose her medical skills in the palace, but Lin Mengxian's current situation was critical. Lin Xingchen helped Jiang Peihuan to carry Lin Mengxian to a side for treatment. After all, Lin Ruhai was a general survived many battlefields, while Lin Mengxian was only a normal 13-years-old girl. Lin Ruhai was determined to kill Lin Mengxian directly, so he didn't held back in that kick. Examined her condition through her pulse, Jiang Peihuan's eyes were filled with worry. Nanye, send someone to my courtyard and bring me the 1,000-year-old ginseng you gave me. You knows where I have keep it. All right, I'll get Han Feng to go. Your Majesty, please allow me to go with guard Han. Xiao Nanye nodded. Where's Lin Ruhai? Jiang Peihuan looked at Xiao Nanye and asked softly when she was performing acupuncture on Lin Mengxian. There's someone watching him, don't worry. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan was relieved. Although Lin Ruhai was not the main culprit who harmed the Jiang family, he was still an accomplice. Jiang Peihuan did not expect to find an opportunity this time. Outside the palace, Han Feng, looking at the figure ahead, couldn't help but call out, "You're running so fast. Do you know where the eldest Miss Courtyard is?" Han Feng's speed was considered very fast among the marital arts expert. Today he has witnessed a speed upon his imagination displayed by Lin Xingchen. Han Feng finally understood what is true speed. The two of them arrived outside the plum garden. Lin Xingchen was surprised by Han Feng's action to enter the courtyard like a thief by climbing over the wall instead using the main entrance and the walk path. Who's there? You happened to be cleaning the courtyard at this hour. It's me. Guard Han, you again? I'm here on the eldest miss orders to retrieve the 1,000-year-old ginseng. All right, please wait a moment, 111 fetch it. Be quick, the eldest miss is waiting. Okay. Nodding, Yu quickly lifted her skirt and walked into the storeroom. Moments later, she came out with a black box and handed it to Han Feng. Thank you. Han Feng said. After thanking Yu, Han Feng and Lin Xingchen once again vaulted over the wall and left. Watching their departing figures, Yu's eyes were filled with helplessness. Han Feng and Lin Xingchen, having left, headed directly towards the Imperial Palace. Halfway there, Lin Xingchen abruptly snatched the box from Han Feng's hands, saying, "You're too slow. I'm going ahead." Han Feng was speechless after being criticized for his slowness. In the Imperial Palace. What? How are you so fast? Where is Han Feng? Jiang Peihuan's eyes were full of surprise. Lin Xingchen did not speak. He just carefully handed the box in her hand to Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan took the box from him and opened it. She carefully cut off a piece of ginseng and stuffed it into Lin Mengxin's mouth. Jiang Peihuan's performed the acupuncture again and again. A moment later, Lin Mengxin opened her eyes. Don't speak first, you are still under treatment. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Lin Mengxin looked at her gratefully and then did not make a sound. Help her up. Yes. Lin Xingchen immediately stepped forward and helped Lin Mengxin up. Jiang Peihuan walked to her back and continued with the acupuncture. When Lin Mengxin's back was covered with silver needles, she could not hold it in any longer and spat out a mouthful of blood. All right, after spitting out this blood clot, you only need to pay attention to recuperating and you will be able to recover. Thank you, Miss Jiang. There's no need to thank me. If it wasn't for me bringing you here, you wouldn't have suffered this much pain today. When she said this, there was a hint of guilt in Jiang Peihuan's eyes, but when Lin Mengxin heard this, her eyes were full of anxiety. Miss Jiang, please don't say that. I am very grateful that you brought me here. I'm not favored in the residence. Even the maids can bully me. Brother Xingchen has always been protecting me. Now, one can finally protect him. As she spoke, Lin Mengxin looked at Lin Xingchen. The entire Lin mansion will probably treat me as an enemy. Jiang Peihuan had already told Lin Mengxin the outcome when she revealed the truth to the emperor. It's all right. As long as one can help Brother Xingchen, I'm willing to do anything. Lin Mengxin smiled nonchalantly. I won't let them bully you any longer starting now. Lin Xingchen made his promise to protect her. Chapter 242, Lin Ruhai was punished all right. Hearing Lin Xingchen's words, Lin Mengxin's eyes were filled with smiles. Be careful. After Lin Mengxin fall asleep, the servants took her out. After all, not everyone was qualified to recuperate in the Imperial Palace. Miss Jiang, thank you. Lin Xingchen looked at Jiang Peihuan and thanked her softly. Jiang Peihuan smiled and said nothing. Don't forget, things aren't over yet. As she spoke, Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanye entered the Qianqing Palace with Lin Xingchen following behind. When Jiang Peihuan entered the inner hall, she saw Lin Ruhai still kneeling, seemingly lost in thought, while Emperor Qiming sat on his throne, staring at him with a gloomy look. Emperor Qiming had not expected to find such a character among his servants. Lin Ruhai, do you have anything else to reveal? Upon seeing Xiao Nanye and the others enter, Emperor Qiming directly addressed Lin Ruhai. Your Majesty, this is just their side of the story. One became the head of the Lin family because my cousin entrusted me to. Lord Lin, we already have testimony from Miss Lin. Do you still insist on defending yourself? Unable to contain herself after hearing Lin Ruhai's words, Jiang Peihuan spoke with coldness in her eyes. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan, Lin Ruhai immediately responded, Xin has always been close to Xingchen since they were children. It's not impossible for her to lie for him. Regardless, he couldn't admit guilt. If he did, not only might he lose his position, but perhaps even his life. Jiang Peihuan seemed to have anticipated this response. Jiang Peihuan, She even smiled a little. She looked at Lin Ruhai and said lightly, "Lord Lin, do you really think that we have no other evidence besides certification? What other evidence do you have?" At this point, panic was evident in Lin Ruhai's eyes. Neither spoke for a while. Xiao Nanye's eyes were filled with admiration. Such an outstanding woman would be his in a month. Joy filled Xiao Nanye's heart. At the same time, she felt his joyful staring, but now she has to focus on Lin Ruhai. "Lord Lin, since you claim that your position as head of the Lin family was given to you by General Lin, he must have handed over the Lin family's private seal to you, right?" Lin Ruhai searched everywhere for this private seal but could not find it till today. "I don't have the seal. It's because my cousin didn't hand it over to me." "Lin Xingchen, do you have your father's private seal?" "Of course." Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Lin Xingchen responded loudly. Approaching Emperor Qi Ming, Lin Xingchen immediately knelt down and took off a jade pendant from around his neck. The jade pendant seemed ordinary, but when Lin Xingchen split it apart, it cleanly broke in half. Next, Lin Xingchen combined the two pieces into a seal. Lin Xingchen offered the seal with both hands. "Your Majesty, please take a look. This is my father's private seal." How is this possible?" Lin Ruhai had searched the entire Lin mansion in the past, and even now, he still had people looking for it. Lin Ruhai never imagined the ingenuity behind Lin Tianyang's seal. When Lin Xingchen was young, Lin Ruhai had seen the jade pendant around his neck numerous times. But he only regarded it as a simple jade pendant, never suspecting that it was the seal he had been yearning for. Emperor Qi Ming took the seal from Lin Xingchen, a trace of nostalgia in his eyes. Back when he was still a prince, many court officials did not hold him in high regard. Among those who showed him respect and courtesy, aside from Jiang Hong, was Lin Xingchen's father, Lin Tianyang. Gently caressing the seal in his hand, Emperor Qi Ming turned to look at Lin Ruhai, his eyes filled with anger. "Lin Ruhai, you are audacious." "Your Majesty, I am innocent." Silence. Emperor Qi Ming sternly rebuked him. "This seal can prove that it's Lin Tianyang's private seal. Don't tell me you still want to say that I'm being unfair to you." "Your Majesty, one was only confused for a moment. Please spare me." Aware of his dire situation, Lin Ruhai quickly knelt and begged for mercy. Emperor Qi Ming remained silent. Lin Ruhai continued, "Your Majesty, over the years, even if one haven't had merits, one have had hard work. Please spare me." Lin Xingchen wanted to interject, but Jiang Peihuan tugged firmly at his sleeve. They could expose Lin Ruhai's deeds, but they couldn't decide his fate on behalf of Emperor Qi Ming. Lin Xingchen silently closed his mouth and knelt in silence. After a long pause, Emperor Qi Ming finally addressed Lin Ruhai, "From now on, you are no longer the master of the Lin mansion, nor are you a general." "Your Majesty, out of respect for Lin Tianyang, one won't end your life. However, one will exile you to the northern border. You will remain there from now on." "Your Majesty," disbelief filled Lin Ruhai's eyes. He had lost everything. Everything he had worked so hard for was gone. "Lin Xingchen, starting from today, you will replace Lin Ruhai. The position of the Lin family belongs to yours. I hope you can honor your father's legacy and serve the Qi kingdom well." "Thank you, Your Highness." Hearing Emperor Qi Ming's words, Lin Xingchen knelt and bowed deeply. After all the commotion, Emperor Qi Ming looked tired. Having arranged everything, he turned to Xiao Nanye and said, "All right, you may leave." Soon after, Lin Ruhai was taken away. As he was led away, Lin Ruhai's gaze fixed on Jiang Peihuan. However, she never paid him any attention at all. The imperial decree quickly reached the Lin mansion. Chaos ensued within the Lin household. "Where is my father now?" Lin Mengyaro handed a pouch to the eunuch who delivered the decree. The young eunuch weighed the pouch in his hand and whispered back, "Master Lin is currently in the Dali Temple." The Dali Temple was where the court's major criminals were held. Hearing this, worry filled Lin Mengyao's eyes. Chapter 243. An unforeseen change in Lin Mansion Yarrow. What should we do? Your father has been imprisoned, and now we have nothing left. Yarrow, why don't you go and plead with Prince Qing? You are his concubine in name. If you ask him, he will surely help. Mother, the decree was issued by the emperor. Even if it's the prince, he might not be able to do much. At this time, Lin Mengyaro would definitely not go to Xiao Juanhao. The Lin family is no longer reliable, and in the future, the only one she could rely on is the Qing mansion. At this moment, a commotion reached Lin Mengyao's ears. Kill her, the traitor. We provided foods for you, clothed and fed you, yet you dare do this. Yes, beat her up. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't be kicked out. Following the noise, Lin Mengyaro looked over. It turned out that people from the second house were beating and berating Lin Mengxian. Lin Mengxian had been dragged from her bed, and her eyes were filled with terror. You all, please stop. A haggard-faced woman shielded Lin Mengxian, tears filling her eyes. She was Aunt Lin, a mere concubine, and couldn't do much. Aunt! This was not the first time Lin Mengxian had been beaten by these people, so she was not particularly bothered. As long as she could help brother Xingchen, even if she was abused by these people, she did not care. But seeing Madame Lin defending her, tears filled her eyes. Father! At this time, Lin Mengxian couldn't help but look towards her father. But Lord Lin was a mere illegitimate son of the Lin family and naturally wouldn't defend his illegitimate daughter. Hearing Lin Mengxian's words, he coldly said, as a member of the Lin family, you betray our trust. You, father, brother Xingchen is also a member of the Lin family. This has always been his home. Without waiting for her father to finish, Lin Mengxian interrupted him. Upon hearing this, Lord Lin's eyes were filled with anger. He glared at Lin Mengxian, saying, you dare to speak. As he spoke, he raised his hand, intending to slap Lin Mengxian. Lin Mengxian closed her eyes in fear. However, the anticipated pain didn't come. She opened her eyes. She saw Lin Xingchen standing in front of her. Brother Xingchen? What are you doing? Lin Xingchen's hand tightly gripped Lord Lin's wrist. Hearing Lin Mengxian's voice, he forcefully flung him away. As Lin Xingchen's words fell, the soldiers behind him immediately stepped forward. These soldiers were the ones who had once been bandits with Lin Xingchen. All of them were also members of the Lin family. Now, looking at those who had wronged their master, anger filled each of their eyes. People from the Lin family's main house and the third house were directly pushed away. Are you all right? Getting Lin Mengxian up from the ground, Lin Xingchen spoke softly. I'm fine. A smile covered Lin Mengxian's face. Xingchen, it's good to see you still alive. At this moment, Lin Mengyaro walked up to Lin Xingchen. Looking at this so-called cousin, Lin Xingchen's eyes were cold. I'm sorry to disappointed you. Lin Mengyao's expression stiffened, but she still maintained a smile, saying, Xingchen, we're all family. From the moment I was expelled from the Lin family, Lin Ruhai seized everything that belonged to my father, we were no longer family. So, please leave immediately. Xingchen, must you be so heartless? Houses in the capital are astronomically expensive. Aside from this mansion, the Lin family's other properties are all in the countryside. Moreover, at this moment, even if they wanted to buy another house, they have no money. But as long as they are in the Lin mansion, they still consider themselves members of the Lin family. Regarding Lin Ruhai's actions, Lin Mengyaro wasn't particularly upset. However, in a month, she's set to marry into the Qing mansion. She must stayed here. Upon hearing Lin Mengyao's words, Lin Xingchen responded with a light chuckle. While there was a smile on his face, Lin Xingchen's eyes did not show the slightest hint of mirth. Looking at Lin Mengyaro, he whispered, Cousin Meng, while others may not see your true colors, do you think I don't? Before I change my mind, it's best you took your belongings and leave peacefully. Otherwise, I'll ensure you leave everything behind, not even a single thread. After all, these things belonged to my father, didn't they? You, Xingchen, could it be that you have some misunderstanding about me? Anger flashed in Lin Mengyao's eyes, but thinking of her own intentions, she forced herself to suppress it, squeezing out a smile for Lin Xingchen. Lin Xingchen's patience had run out. Looking at Lin Mengyaro, he bluntly asked, Cousin Meng, did Shuer really drown herself? Her face turned pale at his simple question. The mocking look in Lin Xingchen's eyes deepened. In his youth, Lin Xingchen had been very fond to Lin Mengyao. Until he witnessed this nice cousin unblinkingly push a young maid into a river. That's when he realized how naive he had been. Back then, Lin Mengyao was only 8 years old. Her reason for such cruelty? The maid was more beautiful than her. It was winter. The young maid was pushed into the river and was quickly consumed by the icy water. Lin Mengyao stood by the riverbank, watching Shuer drown, even wearing a smile. That scene left a deep scar in Lin Xingchen's heart. Other than Xin Xin and Aunt Lin, expel everyone from the mansion. Yes. With Lin Xingchen's order, everyone in the Lin mansion was driven out. Outside the Lin mansion gates. Eldest miss, it seems like they are from the Lin mansion. Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanya were sitting in a carriage. They had just left the city after distributing porridge. The snow outside was getting heavier, and Xiao Nanya didn't allow Jiang Peihuan to ride a horse, hence they took the carriage. They had just started when the carriage was halted. Yi Xiao's voice came from outside. Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but lift the curtain. She happened to see Lin Mengyao coming out with her luggage. Both of them looked at each other's. When their eyes met, Lin Mengyao's eyes were filled with complicated emotions. She had always compared herself to Jiang Peihuan, always thinking that one day she'd look down upon her. However, she noticed that the gap between them seemed to grow wider. Lin Mengyao even saw Xiao Nanya, who stood above everyone else but under one, the imperial uncle, handing Jiang Peihuan a cup of water with such gentleness. Be careful of the cold. Chapter 244, Lin Mengyao was kicked out of the Lin mansion inside the carriage. Xiao Nanya did not even look outside. After he handed the teacup in his hand to Jiang Peihuan, he immediately pulled down the curtain. Han Feng, tell them to move aside. Xiao Nanya ordered Han Feng. Yes, Your Highness. The carriage moved on quickly as the Lin family members were all pushed to the sides of the road. Madame Lin stayed beside Lin Mengyao the whole time. Watching the departing carriage, she couldn't help but rub her arms. Yarrow, what should we do next? Where will we stay? And, can we find a carriage first? It's so cold. Voices kept ringing in her ears, but Lin Mengyao's gaze involuntarily landed on Jiang Peihuan's carriage. It was only when the carriage disappeared around the corner that Lin Mengyao shifted her gaze away. As for the matters of the Lin family, Jiang Peihuan didn't care. They would have no connection with her anymore. The carriage went straight to Plum Garden. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to alight, she noticed that Xiao Nanya had already stepped out and was extending his hand towards her. After taking the man's hand and getting out of the carriage, Jiang Peihuan said to Yi Xiao, ask the kitchen to prepare some hot soup. Yes, miss. Go in and sit first. It's too cold outside. After Yi Xiao left, Jiang Peihuan turned her attention to Xiao Nanya. The man remained silent, nodding, and followed Jiang Peihuan into a nearby hall. As soon as Jiang Peihuan entered, a white shadow pounced on her. Jiang Peihuan stretched out her arms and embraced it. Xiao Bai, your leg hasn't healed yet. Don't move too much, understand? While holding Xiao Bai, Jiang Peihuan carefully checked its injuries. Seeing that the wound was not serious, Xiao Bai stuck out his tongue and licked her hand. 111 Have someone build a wooden house for it in the mansion, she said. Sitting opposite Jiang Peihuan, Xiao Nanya observed Xiao Bai's actions and quietly remarked to Jiang Peihuan. Seeing her look of confusion, he explained. When we get married, Xiao Bai will certainly come with us to the mansion. That's why I'm arranging a house for it. No need, just let it stay in the room. A grown white wolf can weigh up to 300 pounds. You want it in the room? This cut tie. Xiao Bai, still a young wolf cub in her arms, Jiang Peihuan hesitated. She could hold the current Xiao Bai with both arms and had not really considered what a 300-pound Xiao Bai would look like. We need to stop feeding Xiao Bai cooked food. It's a wolf, after all, we cannot raise it like a dog. Initially, when Jiang Peihuan brought Xiaobai home, Xiao Nanya intended it to protect her. The incident with the colorful snake proved Xiaobai's loyalty. But looking at the grilled meat on the ground, Xiao Nanya's eyes showed a hint of helplessness. It was a wolf without any wild nature. Jiang Peihuan continuously staring at him, Xiao Nanya's voice grew softer. This is for Xiaobai's own good. Though it likes you, it is still a wolf. Yes, you're right. I'll ask you to gradually prepare raw meat for it. Miss, the hot soup is ready. At this moment, Jian Peihuan's door was pushed open and Yi Xiao walked in with 2 bowls of hot soup and some pastries. After placing the items on the table, Yi Xiao left. Xiaobai became alert. Jiang Peihuan knew it wanted some. Normally, she would have fed it already, but she placed Xiaobai on the ground, saying, "It's sweet, you can't eat it." Xiaobai whimpered. "If you keep whining, out you go." Xiao Nanya passed the tableware to Jiang Peihuan. Hearing Xiaobai's whimper, he spoke sternly. It immediately lay quietly in a corner. "Aren't you drinking?" Taking the soup spoon from Xiao Nanya's hand, Jiang Peihuan noticed that he hadn't touched his food. A trace of confusion flashed in her eyes. "I'll drink." Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Xiao Nanya picked up his utensils. He didn't particularly enjoy sweets. However, seeing the relaxed expression on Jiang Peihuan's face, he still tasted the sweet soup. "Give it a try." Jiang Peihuan had noticed long ago that Xiao Nanya didn't have a penchant for overly sweet things. Upon her recommendation, Xiao Nanya took a sip of the soup. Its taste was unlike any he had tried before. It was mildly sweet, but the aroma was pronounced. He softly commented, "The flavor of this sweet soup is quite good. This is a special recipe my mother prepared for my father. In the past, during winter in the military camp, my father used to cough a lot. My mother would make this sweet soup. Since my father was not fond of sweets, she added only a little sweetness." The First Lady and the Great General shared deep affection. Hearing Xiao Nanya's words, a hint of a smile appeared in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. In her previous life, her entire Jiang family tragically perished, and Jiang Peihuan initially vowed never to trust men again. But every time she saw Jiang Hong and Shui Yang, she believed that there were still people in this world who cherished love, just like her father and mother. Or her third uncle and third aunt. "Young miss, it's getting late. You should rest." The door was opened again, and Yi Xiao walked in with hot water. The man said softly, 111 go back first. Don't go out of the city too early tomorrow. Wait for me to pick you up. All right. She nodded directly. After Xiao Nanya left, Jiang Peihuan lay down on the bed. Xiao Bai jumped up onto her bed. Recalling what Xiao Nanya had told her, Jiang Peihuan initially wanted to send Xiao Bai down, but seeing the injury on Xiao Bai's leg, she hugged it in her arms. That night, snow fell continuously. Jiang Peihuan was awakened in the early morning by the sound of knocking. "Eldest miss, did one wake you up?" The one who entered was Yu Er. Holding hot water in her hands and helping Jiang Peihuan sit up, Yu Er softly inquired. "Who's making such a noise outside?" "Eldest miss, Miss Lin has arrived. She wishes to see you." "Miss Lin?" Yu Er whispered, "It's Miss Lin Mengyao." Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan's brows furrowed. Thinking about Jiang Peihuan's past relationship with Xiao Juanhao, and then considering Lin Mengyao's current relationship with him, Yu Er suggested, "If you don't wish to see her, 111 have her away immediately." Saying this, Yu Er prepared to leave. However, she heard Jiang Peihuan's voice from behind, "Let her in." Chapter 245, Deserve to Die Eldest Miss? It's fine. Yu Er did not say anything else. Only a short moment later, Yu Er walked back into the room. "Miss Lin refuses to come in. She says she will wait for you outside in the courtyard." Jiang Peihuan did not respond but draped on a fiery red cloak. Lin Mengyao was waiting just outside in the courtyard. This was not her first visit to Jiang Peihuan's plum garden. In the past, Under Yang Xin's guidance, Lin Mengyaro had visited a few times. Each time she came, Lin Mengyaro felt the garden exuded opulence. Outside Jiang Peihuan's room was a large courtyard. Beside a pavilion stood a faux mountain, meticulously crafted. In the summer, tiny streams flowed through it. This faux mountain was personally carved by Jiang Hong. When Jiang Peihuan stepped into the courtyard, what she saw was Lin Mengyaro, staring intently at the faux mountain. She didn't say anything, just quietly observing Lin Mengyao's back. After a long while, Lin Mengyaro finally turned to face Jiang Peihuan. Seeing the fiery red cloak on Jiang Peihuan, a hint of envy flashed in her eyes. "Miss Jiang, I apologize for the intrusion." Jiang Peihuan remained silent, merely gazing at Lin Mengyaro. Seeing Lin Mengyaro stirred some complicated emotions in Jiang Peihuan. In her previous life, it was because of Lin Mengyaro that Xiao Juanhao had destroyed everything of hers. "Miss Jiang, I came today with a request." Lin Mengyaro took the initiative. Only upon hearing this did Jiang Peihuan finally respond, "Miss Lin, speak your mind. I hope that Miss Jiang can talk to Xingchen and let us continue to stay in the Lin mansion. After all, we are just some old, weak women and children. Even if it's not a permanent stay, at least let us get through this winter." In just one more month, she would be married into the Qing Wang mansion. No matter what happened to the Lin family, it would no longer concern her. Why doesn't Miss Lin approach General Lin directly? "I'm aware of what my father did to Uncle, which makes it difficult for me to approach him on this matter. If it's hard for Miss Lin to speak, it's even harder for me." Hearing Lin Mengyao's words, Jiang Peihuan's lips curled into a smile, but it was a smile dripping with derision. Lin Mengyaro was just the same as in the previous life, always taking others for fools. Meeting Lin Mengyao's gaze, Jiang Peihuan said directly, "1 a.m. but an outsider, one cannot intervene in the affairs of the Lin family." "An outsider? Let's put aside your relationship with Xingchen for a moment. Just the fact that Miss Jiang took my cousin directly into the palace implicates you in this matter, does it not? As for what Miss Jiang did, I don't blame you at all. After all, it was my father's fault in the first place. But now, is it too much to ask for a simple favor? As I said, I'm just an outsider. If Miss Lin came here today just to tell me this, then you can leave." Hearing Jiang Peihuan's blatant dismissal, anger flared in Lin Mengyao's eyes. Taking a deep breath, she looked at Jiang Peihuan and said, "Miss Jiang, are you really this cruel?" Hearing Lin Mengyao's words, Jiang Peihuan laughed as if she had heard a delightful joke. However, her eyes held not a hint of amusement but were filled with hatred. Seeing the smile on Jiang Peihuan's face, Lin Mengyaro looked puzzled. Just as she was about to speak, she heard Jiang Peihuan's voice, "Miss Lin, when it comes to cruelty, that title better suits you." Before Lin Mengyaro could retort, Jiang Peihuan continued, "Or have you forgotten about sending someone to assassinate me?" What are you talking about? One don't understand." "Miss Lin, do you genuinely not understand? Back then, I was ordered to escort grain to Jiangju. Along the way, I was ambushed. Wasn't that your doing?" Before Lin Mengyaro could finish, she felt a cold sensation on her neck. Unbeknownst to her, Jiang Peihuan had already drawn her long sword, the tip of it was pointed at her throat. "Miss Lin, based on what you did to me that day, shouldn't I?" "Jiang Peihuan, what are you trying to do?" Suddenly, someone knocked Jiang Peihuan's sword aside. Jiang Peihuan turned and saw Xiao Juanhao. Xiao Juanhao held Lin Mengyaro in his arms. Seeing the blood on her neck, he glared at Jiang Peihuan with icy eyes. "How could you be so vicious?" Not to waste any words, as Xiao Junhao's voice trailed off, Jiang Peihuan's sword lunged towards him. Xiao Junhao's martial skills were superior to her own. Jiang Peihuan's strike was both swift and fierce. Under this assault, Xiao Juanhao looked slightly flustered. By the end, there was anger in Xiao Junhao's eyes. "Jiang Peihuan, stop now, or one won't be polite." Jiang Peihuan, seemingly deaf to his words, continued her relentless attack, each strike faster, fiercer, and with undeniable murderous intent. Xiao Juanhao didn't hesitate, drawing his sword from his waist. But as he moved to counterattack, another sword struck at him. "Be careful, Your Highness." Hearing Lin Mengyao's warning, Xiao Juanhao swiftly dodged, but his arm was still injured. Xiao Nanye, sword in hand, stood beside Jiang Peihuan. "Huan are you okay?" Seeing Jiang Peihuan shake her head, Xiao Nanye turned his icy gaze to Xiao Juanhao. "You have some nerve to attack. In a month, Huan will be my queen. By protocol, you should address her as your imperial aunt. Today's events will be reported to the emperor." Despite being the injured party, Xiao Nanye intended to be the first to complain. "Imperial uncle, if it weren't for Miss Jiang trying to kill Yarrow I wouldn't have acted. You should at least be fair." Xiao Juanhao responded coldly, "If Huan wants her dead, then she deserves it. It means she did something deserving of death." Jiang Peihuan, Lin Mengyaro, Xiao Juanhao, with Xiao Nanye's declaration, everyone turned incredulous. "Your Highness, King Cheng, there's something I'm unsure whether to say or not." Especially Lin Mengyaro, she could not believe her ears. Chapter 246. Huan is a treasure. Since you don't know, then don't say it. Upon hearing Lin Mengyao's words, Xiao Nanye responded immediately. The undisguised annoyance in Xiao Nanye's eyes, Lin Mengyao's face stiffened. "King Cheng, you might not know, but before you, Miss Jiang of the Jiang family and Prince Qing had interactions and shared a deep friendship. I'm unsure why Miss Jiang changed her feelings towards Prince Qing, perhaps because King Cheng has won the emperor's favor." Lin Mengyaro spoke softly, but her words clearly reached everyone's ears. Jiang Peihuan never expected Lin Mengyaro to make such a blatant insinuation. Such words were indeed nauseating. After Lin Mengyaro finished speaking, Jiang Peihuan instinctively looked at Xiao Nanye. What surprised Jiang Peihuan was the lack of anger in Xiao Nanye's eyes. In fact, he seemed even more annoyed. "Are you done?" Lin Mengyaro was stunned when she saw Xiao Nanye's indifferent expression. "King Cheng, aren't you angry?" "Why should I be?" Lin Mengyaro was speechless. Seeing her puzzled expression, Xiao Nanye reached out and held Jiang Peihuan's hand. "Regardless of whether what you said is true or false, even if it were true, one would never let go of Huan People coveting Huan just proves she's a gem. Such a treasure, one will surely never let go. As for today's matter, let it pass. But if I ever hear of you tarnishing Huan reputation again, I'll kill you directly by myself." As he uttered the last sentence, Xiao Nanye's gaze towards Lin Mengyaro was filled with undisguised killing intent. Lin Mengyaro couldn't help but shiver, turning her gaze towards Jiang Peihuan. There was no anger in Jiang Peihuan's eyes, just a faint smile. A smile seemed to be a glaring mockery. "Xiao Juanhao, take your girl and get out of here." At this moment, Xiao Nanye looked at Xiao Juanhao and said coldly. Lin Mengyaro wanted to say something else, but she was abruptly taken away by Xiao Juanhao. As he left, Xiao Junhao's eyes involuntarily landed on Jiang Peihuan, though her gaze remained on Xiao Nanye. Xiao Juanhao tightly clenched his fist. "Huan let's go. Shouldn't we head to the city gate today?" After Xiao Juanhao and Lin Mengyaro left. Had Jiang Peihuan not clearly remembered the previous scene, she would have thought the cold-eyed man from before and the one now were not the same person. "Xiao Nanye," she asked, "you don't have any questions about what Lin Mengyaro said? Is it important?" At her words, Xiao Nanye stopped in his tracks, turning to her, and softly inquired. After a few seconds, she chuckled. "Indeed, it's unimportant. Let's go." Outside the general's mansion, in a carriage. "Your Highness, let me treat your wound," Lin Mengyaro said softly as she looked at the wound on Xiao Junhao's arm. Lin Mengyaro reached out her hand. However, just as her hand was about to touch Xiao Juanhao, the man dodged it. Lin Mengyaro looked at him with confusion. "Why did you say those words in front of Jiang Peihuan today?" Xiao Juanhao asked directly. "Is your Highness angry?" Lin Mengyaro placed her hands elegantly on her knees and looked at Xiao Juanhao. "Your Highness did indeed invest a lot in Miss Jiang. Though he intended to use Jiang Peihuan to gain military power from Jiang Hong, he did put in genuine effort. After a while, he told her, from now on, never mention these matters again. Yes. It was the first time Xiao Juanhao had been so cold towards her. Was it because the Lin family was now powerless that he no longer bothered to be polite? These thoughts made Lin Mengyao's expression complex. Your Highness, the head of the Lin family is now Lin Xingchen. I have no place to call home. In that case, move into my mansion. How could that be possible? Lin Mengyao responded instinctively, clearly disapproving. If she entered the mansion now, what reputation would she have left? What do you propose, then? Xiao Juanhao calmly inquired. Perhaps your Highness could find a house for me outside, Lin Mengyao began. They were interrupted by a voice from outside. Are you all blind? Hearing the voice, Lin Mengyao frowned, and Xiao Junhao's expression turned sour. With his status, he could not directly confront the individual. Do you know who 1 a.m.? I'm the daughter of the Shui family. The great general is my uncle. When he heard the word general, his eyes revealed a thoughtful look. Xiao Juanhao lifted the curtain and got off the carriage. Your Highness. The horsekeeper of the Qing mansion hurriedly gave Xiao Juanhao his luggage. The person arguing outside was none other than Shui Yu. Her foot had already recovered. These few days, Jiang Peihuan and the others had been busy giving out porridge. Shui Yu was bored, so she walked around. Shui Yang also gave her some money in private. Shui Yu was prepared to go out for a walk, but she did not expect to encounter such a thing as soon as she went out. Her new dress was stained by the snow splashed by the carriage. However, the anger in Shui's eyes disappeared instantly when she saw Xiao Juanhao alighting from the carriage. I'm really sorry for dirtying Miss' dress. Why don't you get into the car, Miss? I will go to the shop in front to buy Miss a set of clothes, and it can also be considered as an apology to Miss. It's just a dress. It's nothing. Shui's face turned red when she saw the gentleness in Xiao Junhao's eyes. She quickly spoke up when she heard his words. It was originally my carriage that dirtied Miss' dress, so naturally it should be compensated. Chapter 247, Meeting Xiao Juanhao. In the end, Shui Yu still boarded Xiao Junhao's carriage, but upon seeing Lin Mengyao sitting inside, a look of displeasure filled her eyes. Is she the prince's servant? Why does she seem so lacking in manners? Lin Mengyao's attire had always been rather modest. Coupled with her sleepless night, she appeared rather haggard today. Additionally, she did not wear any jewelry today. Upon seeing her, Shui's first impression was that of a servant. Both Xiao Juanhao and Lin Mengyao were unpleasant upon hearing this. Had it not been for Shui's sincere expression, she might have suspected it was said on purpose. This is Yarrow my side consort who hasn't officially entered the household yet. Side consort. Isn't that just another word for a concubine? Xiao Juanhao was speechless. Lin Mengyao was speechless as well. Technically, side consort was indeed a concubine. But who would dare look down upon a royal concubine? After a while, Xiao Juanhao inquired, May I ask about Miss Shui's relationship with the general's mansion? My aunt is the main wife of the general's mansion. So, Miss Shui is the cousin of Miss Jiang? Does the prince know my cousin, Huan? Upon hearing Shui's question, Xiao Juanhao nodded. At that moment, a voice from outside announced, Prince, we've reached the shop. Subsequently, Xiao Juanhao led Shui Yu into the shop. Even though he promised to compensate with just a dress, he ended up buying several dresses and pieces of jewelry for Shui Yu. Xiao Juanhao personally escorted Shui Yu back to the general's mansion. Watching Shui's gleeful departure, the smile and the joyful sign of Xiao Junhao's eyes vanished instantly. This woman was not only arrogant but also naive. If not for her affiliation with the Shui family, Xiao Juanhao wouldn't even spare her a glance. Your Highness, are you thinking of taking Miss Shui into your mansion? Lin Mengyao asked. Xiao Juanhao was surprised to hear Lin Mengyao's words. While the Shui family might not have a strong foundation in the capital, they are influential in Qingju. If you were to integrate Miss Shuer into your palace, it would undoubtedly be beneficial for your highness' future endeavors. Shuer Yu looked down on the title of a side consort, but from the way she looked at Xiao Juanhao, Lin Mengyaro discerned it all too well. Shuer Yu may wish to become the princess consort of Prince Qing's mansion, she could only be a side consort. Lin Mengyaro couldn't differentiate her feelings of like or dislike towards him anymore. Apart from Xiao Juanhao, she had no other priorities, so the only thing she could do was to propel this man to a higher position. Only then could she have Jiang Peihuan beneath her feet. Yarrow, rest assured, one won't let you down. Xiao Juanhao reached out and pulled Lin Mengyaro into his arms. Leaning against Xiao Juanhao, Lin Mengyaro whispered, "I trust your highness." Her voice was incredibly gentle, but her eyes lacked warmth. If one looked closely, they were filled with coldness. In the following days, Xiao Juanhao frequently invited Shuer Yu out for outings. And Jiang Peihuan was oblivious to all of these events. The coldest season finally passed. The decreasing number of beggars on the streets and fewer refugees outside the city, Jiang Peihuan's mood considerably improved. Unbeknownst to them, half a month had passed. During this half a month, Xiao Nanye accompanied Jiang Peihuan almost every day. Just like now, as soon as Jiang Peihuan sat down, Xiao Juanhao offered her a cup of tea. "Huan, have a sip first." "Thank you." Looking at the teacup in the man's hand, Jiang Peihuan whispered her thanks. She didn't know when, but it seemed she had become accustomed to this man's presence. Jiang Peihuan initially thought it was just tea, but upon tasting, she realized it was ginseng tea. "Xiao Nanye, you should have some too." Millimeter. As he took the teacup from her, he drank the remaining ginseng tea she left behind in one gulp. Even though this wasn't the first time Xiao Nanye had done this, seeing this scene made Jiang Peihuan's cheeks turn slightly red. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to speak, a flurry of hoofbeats sounded nearby. Turning her head, she saw Zhao Yong dismounting from his horse. Apart from the time she diagnosed Zhao Yong's biological mother, Jiang Peihuan hadn't seen him again. Meeting Zhao Yong now, she noticed he was covered in injuries, his face pale, yet his expression remained steadfast. "I greet King Cheng." He bowed to Xiao Nanye, then turned his attention to Jiang Peihuan. "Miss Jiang, the 2 herbs you told me about, one have found them." "You found the 9-spirit fox and the black snake?" "Yes." A hint of surprise appeared in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. "Miss Jiang, you said that if I gathered the herbs, you'd treat my mother. Does that still stand?" "Of course it does. I'll come with you right now." "Thank you." Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, a hint of a smile appeared on Zhao Yong's composed face. Moments later, Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanye got into a carriage. It was the same small courtyard. When Jiang Peihuan saw Madame Zhao again, she noticed her complexion had worsened. After taking Madame Zhao's pulse, Jiang Peihuan said to Zhao Yong, "Show me the herbs." In the living room, Zhao Yong handed 2 porcelain bottles to Jiang Peihuan. Upon opening the white porcelain bottle, Jiang Peihuan detected a faint, mysterious aroma. "Yes, this is the blood of the 9-spirit fox." Opening the other bottle, Jiang Peihuan took a sniff. It was indeed the gallbladder of the black snake. After setting the 2 bottles down, Jiang Peihuan looked at Zhao Yong. "Prince Zhao, do you remember the 3rd ingredient I mentioned?" "Of course, Miss Jiang." "You said the 3rd ingredient is half of my liver." Hearing Zhao Yong's words, Jiang Peihuan nodded. "To extract half of your liver, I need to cut open your abdomen and then slice off a portion of your liver. Are you still willing?" "Just go ahead, Miss Jiang. I'll bear all the consequences. If Miss Jiang is worried about complications from treating my mother, I can provide a written guarantee right now." Chapter 248, Saving Zhao Yong's mother. "Since that's the case, let's sign a contract." Upon hearing Zhao Yong's words, Jiang Peihuan immediately nodded. Moments later, the servants in the house prepared the paper, and Jiang Peihuan, holding a pen in one hand, quickly drafted the contract on it. Jiang Peihuan handed the written note to Zhao Yong and said lightly, "If you think there's no problem, write your name on it." Zhao Yong did not even look at it and directly signed his name. Seeing his actions, a bit of surprise appeared in the eyes of Jiang Peihuan, but she did not say anything. "Prepare a room." Shortly, the three of them entered a room. Jiang Peihuan lit an alcohol lamp, then readied a dagger and bandages. After making these preparations, she looked at Zhao Yong, who was sitting across from her. "Remove your top and lie down." Zhao Yong did as instructed. Looking at the man lying on the bed, Jiang Peihuan turned to Xiao Nanya, who was seated nearby. "Xiao Nanya, help hold down his shoulders." Observing Zhao Yong on the bed, a rare look of admiration appeared in Xiao Nanya's eyes. Xiao Nanya reached out and directly pressed on Zhao Yong's acupoint. Jiang Peihuan was momentarily stunned but realized this method was more effective than merely holding down Zhao Yong's shoulders. "I'm going to begin." Jiang Peihuan addressed the man on the bed, "If you have regrets, now's the time. If you change your mind later, it'll be too late. Just do it." Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan did not say anything else and directly stabbed Zhao Yong's abdomen with the dagger. Blood gushed out immediately, staining Jiang Peihuan's hands red. Yet, she continued her task as if she didn't notice. Zhao Yong's body was immobilized, but cold sweat formed on his forehead. His face turned pale in an instant, but he gritted his teeth and remained silent. Half an hour later, Jiang Peihuan finished suturing Zhao Yong's wound. After that, she washed the blood off her hands. Just as she raised her hand, Xiao Nanya grabbed her hand. The man held Jiang Peihuan's wrist in one hand and a handkerchief in the other. He carefully wiped the water off Jiang Peihuan's hands. Only after both of Jiang Peihuan's hands were dry did Xiao Nanya release her. By this time, Zhao Yong had sat up. The moment his feet touched the ground, he felt intense pain from his abdomen. But he gritted his teeth, making no sound. "Take time to recover. The human liver can regenerate." "Miss Jiang, can you treat my mother now?" "Yes." Jiang Peihuan personally prepared the medicine, not allowing anyone else to intervene. Both Zhao Yong and Xiao Nanya were present when Jiang Peihuan treated Madame Zhao. After administering an injection, she then brought the medicine to Madame Zhao. The medicine had a strong and unpleasant smell, but Madame Zhao didn't comment or ask questions. She drank the medicine in one gulp. "In the next 3 days, I will come to treat the madam once a day. After 3 days, her condition will improve." "Thank you." By this time, the three had walked outside to the courtyard. Apart from his pale face, Zhao Yong didn't look injured. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, he softly expressed his gratitude. Jiang Peihuan nodded, not saying more. She looked at Xiao Nanya beside him. "Let's go back." Xiao Nanya and Jiang Peihuan immediately boarded a carriage. "Are you tired?" Once seated in the carriage, Xiao Nanya sat next to Jiang Peihuan. Without waiting for her to respond, he gently made her rest her head on his shoulder. Jiang Peihuan did feel a bit weary. "I'll nap for a while. Wake me when we reach the general's residence." "All right." Leaning against Xiao Nanya, Jiang Peihuan could smell a subtle, cool fragrance from him. This scent, for some reason, brought a sense of comfort. The carriage headed directly towards the general's residence. The carriage stopped at the entrance of the general's residence. Xiao Nanya didn't plan to wake Jiang Peihuan. But as he was about to reach out to hold her, she opened her eyes. "We've arrived?" Jiang Peihuan softly inquired. Xiao Nanya didn't speak but merely nodded. Then, Xiao Nanya disembarked from the carriage. Holding on to Xiao Nanya's hand, she stepped down. Upon entering the general's residence, Jiang Peihuan saw Deputy General Liu at the entrance. He quickly approached. "Your Highness, Miss Jiang." "Deputy General Liu, why are you here? What happened?" "Miss, there's been an incident at Madam's courtyard." Jiang Peihuan nodded. However, she turned to look at Xiao Nanya. "His Highness is not an outsider, please request him to join." "Then let's go to my mother's courtyard." "All right." Xiao Nanya and Jiang Peihuan headed towards Yanglin. Jiang Peihuan heard shouting from inside. It was the voice of the old Madame Shui. A hint of surprise flashed in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. They quickly speed up to enter together. Grandmother, mother, aunt. Besides Shui Yang and old Madame Shui, Wang Fengyi and Xu Yunyang were seated. Seeing Xiao Nanye following Jiang Peihuan, several instinctively started to bow, but Xiao Nanye was quick to assist the old Madame Shui. Old Madam, please, there's no need for such formalities. We're all family here. Huan you and His Highness please take a seat. Yes. With Shui Yang's command, Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanye seats nearby of her. At this moment, Jiang Peihuan noticed that Shui Yu was kneeling on the ground. Upon closer observation, Jiang Peihuan realized that Shui Yu was adorned with silk and jewelry. While the Shui family had such items, these particular styles were all the rage in the capital. Grandmother, if Huan can marry to King Cheng, why can't I marry Prince Qing? Huan marriage to King Cheng was an official and honorable one. She is the primary wife of King Cheng. What are you? Not to mention that the emperor has already bestowed a main wife and side consort to Prince Qing. Even if you were to marry him, you'd be nothing more than a concubine. What's this about being a concubine? A royal concubine still holds a higher status than an ordinary citizen's primary wife. Moreover, Prince Qing truly cherishes me. More importantly, she and Prince Qing had already consummated their relationship. Apart from Prince Qing, she could not marry any other man. Silence. Chapter 249, Shui Yu was beaten upon hearing Shui Ru's words. The anger that old Madame Shui had just calmed flared up instantly. Shui Yang hurriedly approached. Mother, please calm down and speak rationally with Yu. Don't get angry. She's nothing but trouble. Shui Yu, this is your aunt's courtyard. I don't want to punish you here, making it a spectacle for others. But pack your things immediately. 111 Have someone send you back to Qingju. I won't return. I already belong to Prince Qing. Box novel. When she mentioned the last sentence, Shui Yu spoke softly, but everyone in the hall heard her. Upon hearing this, the old Madame Shui's eyes widened in shock, and her finger, pointing at Shui Yu, trembled. What did you just say, mother? Grandmother? Old Madame Shui suddenly fall to one side. Both Shui Yang and Jiang Peihuan rushed forward. Jiang Peihuan quickly took out a pill from her possession and placed it into the old madame's mouth. Huan water. Xiao Nanye swiftly handed a cup of water to Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan quickly brought it to the old madame's lips. After taking the medicine, old Madame Shui gradually regained consciousness. However, when she saw Shui Yu, her emotions began to get agitated again. Jiang Peihuan quickly said, Grandmother, if there's anything, let's talk about it. If you ruin your body, wouldn't it become Huan's fault? Silly child, what does this have to do with you? How is it unrelated? If it wasn't for the fact that you were here to attend Huan's wedding, Grandmother wouldn't have come all the way from Qingju to Jingdou. All right, Grandmother won't be angry. Taking a deep breath, old Madame Shui turned to Xiao Nanye. King Cheng, may I trouble you for a favor? Please, old Madame Shui, feel free to speak your mind. I'd like to request His Highness, King Qing, to come over. Do not worry, I've already sent someone. He should be here within the time it takes to steep a cup of tea. Thank you, Your Highness. Old Madame Shui no longer wished to say another word to Shui Yu. As for the others, they wanted to speak but dared not utter a word. Yet Jiang Peihuan, seeing Shui Yu adorned with jewelry, couldn't help but ask, Cousin Yu, how did you come to know Prince Qing? Given that they are together now, it must have been for some time. Recently, Jiang Peihuan had been preoccupied with her charitable activities and had almost forgotten about Shui Yu. Moreover, Shui Yu had originally intended to stay at the general's mansion because she was infatuated with Jiang Changbai. It was beyond Jiang Peihuan's imagination that in such a short time, Shui Yu and Xiao Juanhao became involved. However, Jiang Peihuan wondered if this was initiated by Shui Yu or if it was a plot by Xiao Juanhao. My encounter with Prince Qing was by chance. One day I was out of the mansion, touring. Shui Yu proudly narrated all the things Xiao Juanhao had done for her. But as Jiang Peihuan listened, her face showed discomfort. Perhaps Shui's encounter with Xiao Juanhao was by chance, but what followed was undoubtedly Xiao Junhao's scheming. Jiang Peihuan wanted to expose Xiao Junhao's true nature to Shui Yu, but seeing the adoration in Shui's eyes, she dropped the idea, thinking it would be futile. Jiang Peihuan looked directly at Shui Yu. Cousin Yu, you're the only daughter of the Shui family. Given how much your uncle and aunt love you, you're surely destined to be someone's main wife. Being a concubine in Prince Qing's mansion is beneath you. Although Shui Yu was the only daughter of the Shui family. Technically speaking, marrying Xiao Juanhao as a concubine would be quite an elevation for Shui Yu. However, Jiang Peihuan knew her cousin very well, so she purposely mentioned it. Indeed, after hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, a hint of conflict appeared in Shui's eyes. Yet she remained silent for a moment before responding, Prince Qing and I truly love each other. One don't care about titles. Jiang Peihuan, Madam, Prince Qing is here. At this point, Deputy General Liu entered the room. He spoke softly after acknowledging old Madam Shui and Shui Yang. A hint of anger appeared in Shui Yang's eyes. Hearing Liu's announcement, she immediately said, "Let him in." "Yes." Shui's eyes remained glued to the door. Seeing the figure in the treasure blue robe enter, a bright smile illuminated her face. "Your Highness? Are you, Upon seeing Shui Yu, Xiao Junhao's eyes were full of affection. Sitting in her chair, Jiang Peihuan observed this with a mocking expression. When he entered, Xiao Junhao's gaze first settled on Shui Yu, but he couldn't help but glance towards Jiang Peihuan. Seeing the ridicule in her eyes, Xiao Junhao's face stiffened for a moment. However, thinking of his ultimate goal, Xiao Juanhao turned to old Madam Shui and Shui Yang. "Old Madam Shui, Madam Jiang, are you and I truly love each other. I sincerely wish to marry her. I hope you will grant us your blessing. Since Prince Qing wishes to marry Yu, I wonder what status you intend to give her. As far as I'm aware, the Emperor has already granted you a main wife. I am willing to marry Yu with the honor due to a side consort." "A side consort? Forgive me for being blunt, but that is still just a concubine's position. Are you intentionally trying to disrespect our Shui? I'm willing, grandmother. I am willing to be his side consort." Old Madam Shui hadn't finished speaking when Shui Yu eagerly interjected. Old Madam Shui nearly fainted. "Yu, matters of marriage are decided by the elders. It's not your place to speak." This time, Shui Yang, devoid of any restraint, stared coldly at Shui Yu. "Aunt, Huan and King Cheng spend all your days together. Before you worry about me, shouldn't you keep an eye on your own daughter first?" Initially, Shui Yang, being her aunt, truly felt affection for her. But hearing Shui's words now, Shui Yang's expression was unpleased. However much she cared for Shui Yu, she was just a niece. How could she come before her own daughter? "Yi Xiao, slap her." Amidst the deafening silence, Xiao Nanya suddenly spoke. Before anyone could react, Yi Xiao approached Shui Yu and directly slapped her face. A crisp slap resounded throughout the living room. Chapter 250. She is no longer a member of the Shui family. If it weren't for the fact that they were in the Shui family residence, Xiao Nanya would have killed Shui Yu. "Huan is my future queen. If anyone dares to speak ill of her, don't blame me for being impolite. But a joke between two sisters, why should your Highness King Cheng be?" Wang Fengyi could not just watch and intervene. However, when she met Xiao Nanya's icy gaze, she dared not continue. "Your Highness, save me." Shui Yu tried to resist, but her wrist was firmly gripped by Yi Xiao. No matter how much Shui Yu tried to evade, Yi Xiao's slaps landed precisely on her face. Box novel. Out of respect for the old Madame Shui, Jiang Peihuan had always refrained from picking fights with Shui Yu. She couldn't deny the satisfaction she felt watching Shui Yu now being punished. Shui Yu looked at Xiao Junhao with pleading eyes. Xiao Junhao's expression turned sour. He had not expected Xiao Nanye to act so ruthlessly. He said to Xiao Nanye, "Dear Imperial Uncle, please, I ask for some respect. Since you've spoken, I'll spare her this time." Yi Xiao, stop. Yi Xiao ceased her action, leaving Shui's face red and swollen. The old Madame Shui, witnessing the scene, felt a constriction in her chest. After a long pause, she turned to Xiao Junhao and said, "Your Highness, regarding your intention to marry Yu, I'm afraid I cannot agree." "Grandmother, why? If you say another word, Shui Yu, I'll have you beaten to death on the spot." Hearing old Madame Shui's words, panic filled Shui's eyes. She instinctively wanted to respond, but old Madame Shui cut her off before she could finish. After that threat, Shui Yu didn't dare utter another word. "Old Madame Shui, what if I insist on marrying her? After all, Yu is already mine." "Yes, grandmother, perhaps one already carry his child. Jiang Peihuan, Xiao Nanye, Huan is she really your uncle's daughter?" Upon hearing Shui's words, Jiang Peihuan was utterly speechless. Jiang Peihuan turned to face Xiao Nanye, her eyes reflecting her complicated feelings. "I truly hope not." The male heirs of the Shui family were all considered top-notch, and Jiang Peihuan couldn't comprehend why an exception like Shui Yu existed among them. Perhaps Shui's words had cooled her anger, for the rage in old Madame Shui's eyes seemed to fade. Upon hearing Shui Yu, old Madame Shui suddenly spoke, "Are you set on marrying into the Prince Qing's mansion?" "Yes." After that, old Madame Shui looked directly at Xiao Junhao. "Does your Highness have to marry Shui Yu?" "Yes." Hearing old Madame Shui's words, Xiao Junhao was silent for a few seconds before nodding. "In that case, one agree to this marriage." "Mother!" When Shui Yang and Shu Yunyang heard this, they were shocked. However, old Madame Shui suddenly smiled. "But one haven't finished speaking." Old Madame Shui continued, "From now on, Shui Yu is no longer the daughter of the Shui family. She has nothing to do with the Shui family. In the future, whether she lives or dies in the Qing's mansion has no relation to the Shui family." "Grandmother, what are you saying?" Shui's eyes filled with panic as she looked at old Madame Shui. "Don't you understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you, from now on, you're not part of the Shui family. If I'm not part of the Shui family, then who am I? You're merely a concubine of the Prince Qing mansion, no ties to the Shui family anymore." Having said that, old Madame Shui turned to Xiao Junhao, "Prince Qing, you can take her away. From here on, her fate is no longer the concern of the Shui family." Upon hearing old Madame Shui's words, Xiao Junhao's expression was not too happy. The reason why he wanted to marry Shui Yu was to use his relationship with the Shui family to get close to the Jiang family. If Shui Yu wasn't a member of the Shui family, why would he marry her? "Mother, how can you say that? Yu is the daughter of the general and mine. This is the eldest brother's home. If you say another word, you can leave the Shui family too." Hearing old Madame Shui's words, Wang Fengyi remained silent. "Huan I'm a little tired. I heard that your courtyard is a good place to rest." Old Madame Shui didn't look at anyone else but looked at Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan quickly went forward to hold her hand. Jiang Peihuan brought old Madame Shui to her courtyard. Shui Yu, who was kneeling on the ground, watched old Madame Shui leave. At this moment, Xiao Nanye and looked at Xiao Junhao. "Prince Qing, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and take your wife home." After saying that, Xiao Nanye followed Jiang Peihuan. "Grandmother, you don't have to be sad. I believe that if Uncle knows, he won't blame you. Shui Yu, that idiot. She really thinks that the Prince Qing likes her. If she wasn't from the Shui family, do you think he would talk to her? I can't let your only two uncles and all your cousins get into trouble because of her." Although old Madame Shui was an intelligent person, she saw through Xiao Junhao's plan. When old Madame Shui spoke, Jiang Peihuan just stayed by her side as her listener. Jiang Peihuan and old Madame Shui sat down in the pavilion of the plum garden. Jiang Peihuan said softly, "Grandmother, have some hot ginseng tea." "All right." Taking the cup from Jiang Peihuan's hands, she took 2 sips. Then, Jiang Peihuan also handed Xiao Nanye a cup of tea. When he took the teacup from Jiang Peihuan's hand, the man's fingers gently brushed past Jiang Peihuan's fingertips. Sensing the warmth of her fingertips, Jiang Peihuan glared at the man. "Huan I have something for you." Old Madame Shui put down the teacup in her hand and suddenly handed Jiang Peihuan a black wooden box. Jiang Peihuan asked softly, "Grandmother, what is this?" "You'll know when you open it." Jiang Peihuan opened the box. Inside the box was a stack of title deeds. "Grandmother, what are you doing?" "This is 500 mu of fertile land in the suburbs of the capital. It's your dowry from your grandmother." "Grandmother, I can't accept this." As she spoke, Jiang Peihuan had already pushed the title deed back. However, when old Madame Shui saw Jiang Peihuan's actions, she frowned. "Why? Do you think it's too little?" "Grandmother, you know that Huana didn't mean it that way." Chapter 251, Throwing it into the Qing Mansion's carriage. "You should accept it." Seeing that Jiang Peihuan's eyes were still filled with conflict, old Madame Shui continued, "It said that you can't refuse a gift from your elders. This is my dowry for you. You should accept it." "All right. Thank you, grandmother." Jiang Peihuan did not say anything more. Instead, she took the title deed from old Madame Shui's hand. Seeing that she had accepted it, a smile appeared in old Madame Shui's eyes. Old Madame Shui looked at Xiao Nanye. "Your Highness, one don't have the right to say these words. One hope that you can treat Huan well after your wedding. Don't worry, one will definitely take good care of Huan. I will never let her down in this lifetime." "That's good. Huan grandmother will go back first. I'll come back on your wedding day." "Grandmother, are you going back now? It was cold today, have a good rest in the residence for the night." "No, I have to settle that little devil's matter today." Jiang Peihuan did not say anything else. Old Madame Shui stopped Jiang Peihuan and said in a low voice, "Stay in your courtyard. I will handle this well." "Your Highness, you should accompany Huan." "Yes." Old Madame Shui held the servant girl's hand and strode away. Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanye walked into the small hall. As soon as they sat down, Yue brought some tea. "This is the title deed grandmother gave me. Please keep it somewhere safe, Yue." "Yes, eldest miss." Yue took the box from her hands. Xiao Nanye, on the other hand, looked at the title deed that Yue had taken away. He couldn't help but say, "Old Madame Shui loves you very much. Grandmother really loves me." Although the Shui family was a high-ranking official in Qingju, they were not particularly wealthy. However, the title deed that old Madame Shui had just given Jiang Peihuan was very rare. Old Madame Shui must have taken it out from her private room. "Eldest miss, there's a commotion ahead." Just as Jiang Peihuan was talking to Xiao Nanye, she saw Luo came over. Jiang Peihuan frowned. What happened? Old Madame Shui wanted to leave, so she wanted to take young lady together. However, young lady Shui said that she was unwilling to leave and she even said that she wanted to get married. Old Madame Shui mentioned that young lady Shui did not need to wait until the wedding and could go directly to the Qing mansion now. At this moment, old Madame Shui is asking the Prince Qing to take young lady Shui away. Young lady Shui is crying at the door, saying that old Madame Shui is heartless. She is constantly cursing, attracting many people to watch at the door of the mansion. Even if Luo did not elaborate the scene, Jiang Peihuan could also imagine it. She did not say anything and directly stood up from the chair. Old Madame Shui did not allow Jiang Peihuan to go over because she did not want her to see such a filthy thing. However, Jiang Peihuan pushed the door open and walked out. "Eldest miss, it's cold outside." Seeing Jiang Peihuan walk out directly, Lu Er's eyes were filled with worry. She subconsciously wanted to grab Jiang Peihuan's cloak, but she realized that Xiao Nanya had already blown the cloak away. Jiang Peihuan's eyes were filled with anger. When the cold wind blew, she realized that she was not wearing a cloak. A warm feeling fell on her shoulder. Xiao Nanya carefully helped Jiang Peihuan tie her cloak. Why do you have to worry about irrelevant people? If you catch a cold, won't the people around you be worried? Hearing Xiao Nanya's words, the anger in Jiang Peihuan's eyes instantly dissipated. The two of them walked to the door together. Before they reached the door, Jiang Peihuan heard Xuerus wailing. "Grandmother, why are you so cruel?" "Mother, grandmother doesn't care about me and you don't care about me either." Wang Fengyi, who was standing next to old Madame Xue, wanted to step forward when she saw Xuerus' expression, but when she thought of what old Madame Xue had said to her, she did not dare to step forward. She did love Xueryu a little, but this love was built on the basis that it did not affect her. "Xueryu, I've already said that you're no longer a member of the Xue family. Whether you live or die, and where you go, it has nothing to do with the Xue family." Faced with Xuerus' tearful cries, old Madame Xue's eyes no longer had any warmth. She might have cared about her granddaughter before, she didn't want to say anything for her now. "Your Highness, since Xueryu is already pregnant with your child, she will be a member of the Qing mansion in the future. You can take her away now." They were worried about Xiao Junhao's identity, and no one said anything unpleasant, but everyone looked at him with ridicule. Xiao Junhao clenched his fists tightly. "Whoever makes a ruckus in front of General Mansion will be punished on the spot." "Yes, sir." As Xiao Nanya's voice fell, a group of soldiers suddenly appeared with bows and arrows in their hands. Seeing this scene, the crowd subconsciously took 2 steps back. He dared not make any more sounds but still looked at the door of the general's mansion. Jiang Peihuan walked to old Madame Xue's side. "Grandmother, mother, didn't one tell you not to come out? Why did you come out again?" Old Madame Xue immediately spoke. Jiang Peihuan did not answer old Madame Xue's question but looked at Xueryu. Xueryu also looked at her. When their eyes met, the expressions in their eyes were very ugly. Xueryu was jealous, and Jiang Peihuan was annoyed. "Anyone?" Xiao Nanya glanced at Han Feng and 2 soldiers immediately stepped forward. "Queen Cheng?" When she heard this, Jiang Peihuan's eyes showed some surprise. Xiao Nanya looked at them with approval.